What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 10HW Chapter 316 The Body of the Monster. After the Whisper Mouse finished speaking, he charged up again with his weapon. However, as Vice Admiral, he checked a little more than that man. In a face-to-face, even before countless swords could be swung down, Kumo was sent flying. Regret. A woman once told me the same. Compassionately glanced at the countless people who had been knocked away by him, the man said in a cat and mouse tone. But that woman is dead now, quadruple A, her entire clan has been slaughtered by me. The man said with a faint smile, as if he was humbly showing off his achievements, which seemed extremely contradictory. After speaking, the man snatched the chakra shielding device from the corpse of the headless white-jacketed ninja and began to play with it, completely ignoring the whispering rat in his eyes. At this moment, the three warships in the distance had already said that their muzzles were aimed at the man. Buzz. A series of humming sounds sounded 05, and the black dots in the distance were quickly enlarged. It was the shells fired on the warship. Like a swarm of bees, the dense shells did not give the man any space to dodge. Boom. Soon, a roar sounded. The flames of the explosion instantly flooded an area hundreds of meters in radius. The Whisper Mouse had already quickly retreated just now, but it was still affected by the explosion and was rushed out a certain distance. The Whisper Mouse, who had stabilized his body, had a solemn expression and stared straight ahead. He was not sure whether the explosion of the shells could kill the opponent. After all, this time he just came over to test the chakra shielding device and did not bring the Pluton battleship with him. Come. The sound of the explosion continued continuously, and the three battleships did not stop for a moment, and bombed for 3 minutes in a row. As the sound of the explosion gradually ceased, the fire and smoke still filled the battlefield. The mouse's eyes jumped and he said that observation Hokage was released, but his expression changed instantly. How is this possible? Under Kumo's observation Hokage, he felt that the man was gone, replaced by an incomparably large creature. Advertisement, retreat. All warships retreat immediately. Feeling that the monster in the fog exudes a powerful breath, Kumo hurriedly rushed towards the warship, and at the same time shouted loudly towards the warship. However, before he could reach the warship, the ground suddenly shook, and a huge blood-red tentacle suddenly landed on the warship. Marines' warships are all 200 or 300 meters long. Compared with the warships, the ninjas above began to quickly launch the light and heavy rock technique. At the same time, another group of ninjas also began to inject chakra into the chakra power furnace, urging the power furnace to enter the warship and get out of here. However, at this time, more tentacles rushed out, laying on the warship layer by layer, not letting them leave at all. Damn. Yumo scolded secretly, and quickly went up with the knife. Tempest kicked Dao Lan. Countless low shouts, the arm swayed quickly, and a huge silver-white knife was quickly cut out from the blade, which instantly cut on the tentacle. Puff. The huge knife tore through the air to form a white wind that instantly swept the ship, and the tentacles emptied a piece. At the same time, there was a burst of pain and mourning in the dust mist, and the dust mist was quickly blown away. The Marines also saw what the monster looked like. I saw a big crater formed in the place where it just exploded. And the whole body of the monster is buried in the big pit, which is constantly twisted and flickering evil energy. Looking at it makes people's scalp numb, and they don't care to continue watching, for fear that they will sink into it. Probably because he had just cut off more than 10 tentacles, Zuoshu could feel that the monster seemed to be staring at him. The next moment, one after another tentacles broke through the ground, rushing towards Kushu frantically. And because the chakra shielding device has been destroyed, the iron-armored troops have also recovered, and they have begun to approach this side in an orderly manner. Damn. Yumo's face sank. He knew that if those iron-armored troops approached the warship would not be able to leave. However, Lucky Mouse didn't just bring a chakra shield. Just to be on the safe side, there is also a chakra shielding device commissioner operating inside the warship. As one after another chakra waves were released from the warship, the ironclad army that had just returned to normal was in chaos again. Advertisement, ding. Feeling that the iron-armored army was out of his control again, an angry cold snort came from the pit. Immediately afterwards, several shots emerged from the ground, and more than a dozen strange energy shots formed a huge ball and quickly smashed down toward the warship. Seeing this, Whisper Mouse wanted to organize in the past, but there were more than 10 tentacles attacking him here. Damn it. Countless faces sank and cursed inwardly, only to solve the shot in front of them. Dao Lan flew out from the blade of Whisper Mouse, and those tentacles were also cut off. However, those tentacles of 707 seemed to be inexhaustible. No matter how much the Whisper Mouse cut off, there would be a steady stream of shots that would continue to rush out of the ground and beat the Whisper Mouse. Boom. At this time, a roar sounded. Just after taking a huge tentacle and smashing it on the warship, the huge tentacles protected by more than 10 tentacles said that the warship was smashed by the dent, and the mouse felt that more than 10 breaths on the warship disappeared in an instant. It can't go on like this. Yumo frowned. His eyes fell on the deep pit. He knew that there should be the body of the monster. Take a deep breath. Sentence. The Whisper Mouse came to the air in an instant, just about to attack, but countless tentacles chased after it, and at the moment when the mouse stopped, it wrapped around the legs and limbs of the repelling mouse. At the same time, several shots were poised to stab the Whisper Mouse's chest. Are you going to die? It's a pity that I couldn't complete His Highness's mission. Dark Mouse's heart sank and he felt a burst of sadness. Slash wave. Just at this moment, a huge golden sword light came from a distance, cut through those tentacles in an instant, and directly cut off the hundreds of tentacles. At the same time, a golden figure in the distance stood in the air, looking down disdainfully. Chapter 317 The Immortal Monster. The huge sword wave cut off those tentacles, and the repellent also fell down. When Whisper Mouse raised his head, he saw Shiki, the golden lion, in the air. You guys are really trash, you were almost wiped out by such a thing. Shiki glanced at the almost destroyed main ship next to him and said disdainfully. Hearing Shiki's words, Kumo, who was still a little happy, suddenly changed his face. Although he wanted to teach Shiki a lesson, Rat knew that he was no match for him at all, so he could only clench his teeth and take Marine to the side. Knowing this earlier, he had found more ninjas and brought the Pluton battleship over. Otherwise, there will be no such humiliation. Shiki's words were also transmitted back to Akira Yagayu through the video phone bug. For a time, the expressions of the Marines headed by Momosagi suddenly sank, and they even gritted their teeth. Akira Yagayu didn't say much, after all, it was just a little bit of lip service. These guys have their own characters, and each person's character will also make them burst into stronger power. If you limit them, you will suppress them. Blackbeard, Teach and Crocodile were watching with excitement. They had to say that Shiki just said what they wanted to say to those Marines who only knew their own right. What are you looking at? I still imagine how to return to your life with His Highness. Seeing the unwillingness in the eyes of the mouse, Shiki continued. Then he easily cut out a sword wave again, and cut off the tentacles that wanted to chase after the Whisper Mouse again. Big Octopus, your opponent is my golden lion Shiki. When you meet me today, you are considered faint. Shiki floated in the air, looking down at the monster in the deep pit below, and said with a look of disdain. Damn it, you are courting death. Advertisement. The monster was obviously provoked by Golden Lion's disdainful provocation, and with a loud shout, countless tentacles rushed out of the ground and rushed towards Shiki frantically. At the same time, because the main ship was destroyed, the interference of the chakra shielding device inside also disappeared, and the iron-armored troops recovered again and quickly approached the battlefield. Stupid human being, the great Master T-Ting not only lifted the seal, but even absorbed the power of that damned Matria. This will let you experience the power of the great sprite. In the big pit, there was a low roar. Those tentacles quickly turned into purple monsters like venom, and each tentacle was a huge purple snake with sharp teeth in its mouth, madly biting towards Shiki. Idiot. Shiki just sneered, facing the dense purple snake-like tentacles below, but there was no trace of panic. I saw Shiki's double swords flickering continuously. One after another huge sword wave madly cut towards Chia Fang. Each sword wave can harvest more than 10 purple giant pythons, and they just crushed all those purple giant pythons in the breath. Then Shiki raised the corner of his mouth, biting the cigarette, and suddenly raised his palms upwards towards the front. Lion Majesty. Earth coiling. Then the ground was quickly lifted, and the mounds formed huge lion heads. As soon as those lion heads appeared, they quickly rushed towards the monster. The huge lion's head hundreds of meters high rolled down directly towards the monster. Let those purple shots rush out. After shattering 2 lion heads, they were still crushed into the giant pit by those lion heads. The monster, along with the huge pit, was directly buried by the soil scattered by the lion's head. This is the end. Expelling Rat looked at the big hole in front of him from a distance and couldn't help his face change. He didn't expect that Shiki's strength was so strong. However, as soon as the voice mouse fell, the ground suddenly trembled. Advertisement. Then the ground began to crack rapidly. A purple shot emerged from the cracks. This time the range is very large, and the surrounding area of several kilometers is covered with huge shots. Those shots were like seaweed, swaying in the air. Damn humans, you die for me. With a violent drink, the monster let out an angry howl. Countless purple foreheads with giant snake heads began to frantically bite towards the surroundings. It's better if you don't die. Seeing that the monster was still struggling, Shiki sneered. From the beginning to the end, he did not burst out with all his strength, and this time, he began to plan to get serious. I saw Shiki, and suddenly swung a sword towards the bottom. A golden sword glow, Jiao of Jiao, emanated from the blade. The golden sword was cut vertically from the ground, and the hard ground was like tofu, which was cut smoothly. The huge crack rapidly expanded along the golden sword glow, directly swept through the area where the monster's tentacles were. And those shots floating in the air, at this moment, seemed to be hit hard and dissipated quickly. But after a while, the ground shook, and those tentacles appeared again. Humans, I have to admit that you are very strong, but you can't kill me, am I? The only witch who can seal me has been swallowed up by me. I am an immortal existence. The thick voice appeared again, and along with the voice, the tentacles rushed towards Shiki again. Chapter 318 Conquer Monsters. Seeing that the monster that should have been cut in half actually rushed out again, Whisper Mouse and the group of Marines were startled. Even the giant sea kings, under the huge sword wave just now, can also be seconds. Can the monster be killed? Hearing the monster's words, the Whisper Mouse and the Marines were all stunned. It was the first time they had seen an undead monster. This can't be the monster in the land of ghosts. On Akira Yagiyu's side, Sheng and Gaidong Guiwi looked at the iron-armored troops who were very close and couldn't help but change their expressions. That's right. Akira Yagiyu on the main seat listened to the confusion of the two, nodded, and answered their questions. But everyone is still a little puzzled. What is this so-called immortality and immortality? This thing should not be human. It needs special strength to defeat it. A simple attack cannot destroy this thing. Akira Yagiyu had some understanding of the monsters in the country of ghosts, so he explained to everyone aloud. And on the battlefield. Can't kill? Try it a few more times. Golden Lion is also violent. Hearing that the other party actually arrogantly said that he is immortal, he expressed his disbelief on the spot. After speaking, Shiki's double swords danced continuously, and the huge sword waves slashed downwards again. Along with those sword waves, the tentacles like clouds and dreams were cut off, leaving bottomless ravines on the ground. The dust and mist in the sky gradually dissipated, and the ground has been slashed by dense sword waves and is full of cracks. The iron-armored troops in the rear were also implicated. Although they were covered with a layer of iron armor, they were still smashed into pieces in front of Shiki's sword wave. The ones that were not chopped up also fell into the cracks opened by the sword wave. Advertisement for a time, the original mighty undead army has been reduced by half. Impressive. The Whisper Mouse and the other Marines all widened their eyes. It was the first time they saw the Golden Lion attack. They recalled the terrifying sword wave that filled the sky just now, and then looked at the ravine-covered ground in front of them, unable to bear it. AFBD. Live exclamation. If those sword waves attacked them, even if they had the Pluton battleship, they would probably be chopped to pieces before they were released. However, Shiki himself didn't even look at the armored soldiers, he just sneered and looked down. You're not dead this time. Shiki bit his cigarette and said contemptuously. He can be sure that the opponent has been chopped into pieces by his own sword wave. Looking at the motionless ground above the projection, a group of marine pirates turned to Akira Yagiyu again. Even Shing and Gaidong Guiwi are no exception. Although they are the aborigines of this Hokage world, they are also high levels of Kirigakure, the land of water. But they really don't know much about the secrets in the country of ghosts. They just knew that a long time ago, there was a monster called Tu. He was able to control the undead army made of millions of stones, and he almost unified the countries in one fell swoop. Everything is only known through a little secret. Even before seeing the projection, they didn't think the legend was true. Akira Yagiyu could understand how the two felt. The land of water itself is on the sea and has no borders with other countries, and many things happen on several continents. Countries do not have the habit of leaving records. Everything is passed down by word of mouth, or there are very few records. Naturally, they in the land of water would not know what happened in the land of wind. Simply, if you use Janbo, the monster can't die, but if you handle it properly, the monster can be used by us. Akira Yagiyu looked at him expectantly, pressed his lower lip, and said quietly. Advertisement, does your highness want to subdue that monster? Hearing Akira Yagiyu's words, everyone was stunned, and then said in surprise. If you look through the projection, the monster does not have too strong combat power. And even the ability to manipulate those puppets was restrained by the chakra shielding device. From the performance point of view, the people present really couldn't see the slightest advantage from that monster. In this regard, Akira Yagiyu just shook his head, he did not explain. What he wanted was the ability of the monster to speak of the activation of the dead. For example, just manipulating a group of explosive rocks that can walk freely is equivalent to having a group of nuclear weapons that can be shot anywhere. With this ability, even if the 10 tails are summoned, or even if the 6 paths are present, he will don't be afraid. Akira Yagiyu has seen the power of explosive rocks. Once it can be batched, the power of the explosion can even directly sink an island. Sure enough, as soon as Shiki's voice fell, the ground once again glowed with a half-hearted gleam. Then those shots stretched out again, and charged towards Shiki with open teeth and claws. I said, I am immortal, lowly human, you can't kill me. The monster was furious and kept roaring, but Shiki couldn't help it, so he could only keep smacking. And Shiki also refused to come, and constantly cut off the tentacles of the monster, and even had a feeling of never getting tired of it. How long are they going to be so deadlocked? In the distance, Marine looked at the one person and one monster who seemed to be pivoting, and asked strangely. Come on. Whisper Mouse could see what Shiki was doing. When the monster was revived, the number and length of those tentacles were obviously much smaller than before. Chapter 319, Auto-generated chapter title, the 319th sheet Golden Lion's Planetary Devastation. Although the Whisper Mouse found it, the people on Akira Yagiyu's side didn't notice it. Just relying on the projection of the videophone bug, and the distances so far, a group of people are looking at the clouds and fog. Yawn. How long will this guy be so stalemate? Crocodile yawned and said the same question as Marine beside Whisper Mouse. Have no idea. Virgo glanced at Crocodile and said lightly. Blackbeard was already dozing off. On the other hand, BIGMOM was tasting its own dessert cake with relish, and never paid attention to the projection from beginning to end. On the contrary, Sheng and Gaidong and Guiwei were watching intently, and they didn't find it boring at all. His Royal Highness, if you feel bored with Mr. Shaw, Gui Yu and I can keep an eye on it, and we can tell you when it's over. Seeing that Akira Yagyu had closed his eyes, he spoke to Crocodile and the others. No, it should be almost over. Akira Yagyu has Rene Sharingan, and his insight is far beyond everyone present. Even if the image sent by the videophone bug is blurry, he can catch some clues. Hearing Akira Yagyu's sudden opening, everyone suddenly became energetic, and even BIGMOM began to look up and follow. Meanwhile, the situation on the battlefield is being watched by another group of people. On the top of the mountain in the distance, a team of reconnaissance ninjas is passing the situation on the battlefield through the chakra transmission device developed by the Country of the Sky, and transmits the pictures on the battlefield back. That guy is really immortal. Advertisement Luo Shaw and Onogi looked at the projection pass back, and said in surprise. For a long time, they thought that the immortality in the mouth of the monster was just self-righteousness, but they did not expect that they would actually witness it with their own eyes. It seems, that guy should be able to hold off that Akira Yagyu for a while. Luo Shaw nodded and said thoughtfully, if the monster can delay Akira Yagyu's main army, then he can take the opportunity to attack the cities occupied by Akira Yagyu, directly rush to occupy Akira Yagyu's cities, and then clear the remnants of Akira Yagyu. Oyemu glanced at Luo Shaw, but did not speak. He was also thinking the same at this moment. After all, in his opinion, the marine base has been successfully raided by their people, and there must be Akira Yagyu's various equipment, instruments and research materials in it. What he needs now is to find a way to benefit after Akira Yagyu is destroyed. Maximize. At this time, Luo Shaw and Oyegi didn't believe anyone. After all, they both felt that Akira Yagyu's base had been attacked, and once Akira Yagyu's forces were wiped out, it was time for the two of them to finally settle. Especially Luo Shaw, be more wary of Oyegi. Before they said anything, Onogi had already sent people to raid Akira Yagyu's base in the Land of Water, and it was hard to guarantee that Onogi would not have left behind to deal with him. The two old foxes are doing their best to deal with Akira Yagyu, but once the fruit of victory has fallen, it will be time for them to fight. At this time, on the battlefield, the monster constantly stretched out its tentacles like a python. Shiki, on the other hand, had a sneer on his face, and the blade kept releasing sword waves. Under the dense sword wave, the tentacles and body of the monster were continuously cut off, and then they were continuously repaired. However, as Whisper Mouse discovered, the monster's offensive was not as ferocious as before, as if the number and length of tentacles could not be compared with before as the attack increased. But the monster was still screaming. Advertisement. That monster sprite is very clear about his current state, although he is immortal, but the continuous attacks will gradually weaken him, and then he will really become a fish to be slaughtered. He now regretted why he attacked Akira Yagyu so arrogantly. He never imagined that the opponent could stop him and his undead army just by dispatching one person. 0. For flowers, but he also knew that regret was useless, so he wanted to clamor to see if he could make the enemy give up. However, he underestimated Shiki. Even Esther Mouse could see that he was getting weak. How could Shiki not see it? What's more, even if he didn't fall into weakness, Shiki wouldn't let him go so easily. After all, the great pirates of Roger's era were comparable to the existence of the four emperors. Even in death, he will not be afraid. Speaking of the ferocity of the Golden Lion Shiki, Akira Yagyu has to admit that he attacked naval headquarters and cut off his legs to become the first fugitive to escape from impelled down. These Akira Yagyu are very clear. Attack the naval headquarters, unwilling to be restrained, and even cut off his own legs. Seeing that the monster's size became smaller and smaller under the perception of his observation Haki, Shiki also stopped slashing. What's wrong? I've said it all, I'm immortal, I finally know. Seeing Shiki stop, Shiki's heart suddenly cheered, but he still pretended to be calm. Got it. Shiki nodded, a weird smile on his face. So, I'm going to take you back to clean up slowly. After a pause, Shiki's smile became more and more bizarre, and it could even be said to be infiltrating. Rise. As Shiki activated his ability, the ground began to tremble. The ground that Shiki had just watched rose rapidly, and the monster in the pit also flew up. What do you want to do? Kui Mian asked Shiki in a frightened voice. I heard from His Highness that there is an ability called Planetary Devastation. I want you to see my Planetary Devastation. Shiki sneered, and then let out a roar. Lion Majesty Planetary Devastation, Factory, Chapter 320 Shameful Monsters. Planetary Devastation? Hearing the words of the Golden Lion, the sprite was a little puzzled. But Golden Lion has no longer explained. In the marine base in the Land of Fire. After everyone heard Shiki's words, they all looked at Akira Yagyu subconsciously. They were all curious what Akira Yagyu's so-called planetary devastation was. Even Gilon Guewi, who are ninjas, heard of such a move for the first time. Look it, that's it. Akira Yagyu didn't explain, just said something lightly. Hearing what Akira Yagyu said, everyone didn't say anything, and all focused their eyes on the projection again. At this moment, more and more, July 17th, rubble flew up and were attached layer by layer to the monster in the air. More and more, and finally a huge ball was directly formed to wrap the monster. However, the next moment, the monster directly stretched out its tentacles and pierced through the envelope of the ball, causing the golden lion character to frown. With a press of both hands, the ball was directly pulled down from the air. Lion Majesty Earth coiling. Shiki made a move, the ground began to vibrate rapidly, and then the ground was lifted up and turned into 4 huge lion heads. The 4 lion heads all rushed towards the central sphere in an instant. The moment the lions touched the huge earth ball, they dissipated immediately, and then the earth and rocks carried by the lions' heads were like snowflakes, all sticking to the earth ball, more than twice as big as before. But Shiki didn't stop, and even had a cruel heart. In order to prevent the monster from extending his tentacles, he simply started rolling frantically on the ground like a snowball. Advertisement: this guy is playing. Crocodile yawned. In his opinion, the fight was really boring. The others didn't want to watch Shiki snowball anymore, and turned their heads to the side. It's over, don't let it go. Akira Yagayu also rolled his eyes. Everyone had already guessed what Shiki was going to do, and naturally there was no need to continue watching. 3 hours later, 4 huge shadows quickly approached Akira Yagayu's base from the sky. The Marines who were stationed on the defense raised their heads subconsciously, and they were all stunned. Above them, in addition to 3 warships, there is also a huge earth ball. The diameter of the earth ball was more than 2 kilometers. Compared to it, the 3 warships next to it were like toys. And Shiki, just like he was releasing a balloon, pulling the huge earth ball down. Shiki had just landed, and Vice Admiral, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately approached. Mr. Shiki, Your Highness asked you to bring the monster to see him directly after you come back. Hua Xiaoshan was huge, and he came to Shiki and said in a loud voice. Good to know. Shiki nodded. He brought this thing over. It might be of use to His Highness absolutely, but he didn't expect it to make him guess right. When Shiki brought the soil to the Ball Marine Performance Field, Akira Yagayu came out, and everyone else was there. Although Shiki's battle is not very good looking, everyone is full of curiosity about this so-called undead monster. After all, they had never encountered something they couldn't even kill. Advertisement on the other hand, BIGMOM is eating cakes alone in the shade in the distance. For her, there is nothing more important than a delicious dessert outside of Akira Yagayu's orders. Shiki pulled the soil ball down and directly occupied most of the martial arts field, and then the soil and stones on the soil ball began to fall. After a while, the monster reappeared in front of everyone. The question also didn't expect Shiki to let him out, and just felt a ray of light, and immediately shouted. It's useless, you can't kill me, these stones are not at all. The words were just normal, and I noticed that there seemed to be a lot of people in front of them. All of them were a group of rude men. All of them looked at themselves with great interest, and suddenly felt a chill. What do you want to do? Looking at those people, I asked nervously. At the same time, it hid its huge body in the earth and stone. Among these people, it felt at least 3 breaths that were no less than the golden-haired pervert. At this time, the rough heart couldn't help but cry. How long has it been since he was sealed? How come there are so many strong people? It even has some regrets. If he knew it earlier, he would have been with the people from the Kingdom of Wind. Otherwise, he would not have ended up so embarrassed and taken back to the base. But no one paid any attention to him, just kept looking at it, as if looking for something. It's just a big octopus, nothing special. 1.3 minutes later, Crocodile pouted and said disdainfully. Crocodile then crouched down, palms down on the ground. Then, as if affected by some kind of force, those clods began to be deserted quickly. By the end, those earth and rocks had disappeared, and the ground had turned into a sandy land. And the monster was displayed in front of everyone without any cover. At this time, the question wanted to burrow into the sand, but under the control of Crocodile, the sand was like an iron wall, and he couldn't burrow at all, under the eyes of everyone. An inexplicable sense of shame emerged in the sprite's heart. Chapter 321 The Monster Surrenders. At this time, the body of the monster was completely exposed in front of everyone. But not like an octopus as Crocodile said. The body of the monster is more like a giant jellyfish. With countless shots like Lion Majesty, the body part is a translucent umbrella. You guys, how dare you humiliate me like this? When I'm free, I won't let you go. The sprite was flustered by everyone, and finally began to hate it, and he didn't know where his mouth was. Anyway, he could keep making a roar. Humph. Crocodile snorted. The yellow sand on the ground instantly turned into countless yellow vines, binding all the tentacles on the monster to the sand. Then the spears formed by the yellow sand condensed out from the scratches. Like 1,000 thorns, it instantly ties the monster into a hedgehog. The injury of the yellow sand spear cannot cause great damage to the monster, but it makes the monster cry in pain. Hey, don't believe it, this guy really can be killed. Shiki next to him grinned. After speaking, Shiki stepped forward, the long sword in his hand slashed diagonally, and a huge sword wave appeared, swiping directly from the monster's body. The ground was turned into a huge slanting crack. And the monster's body was directly cut in half. But soon, the monster seemed to be liquid, and healed together in an instant. Is it? Virgo's eyes lit up next to him, and he was also interested in monsters that could heal instantly. Advertisement. I saw that Virgo stepped on his feet, and his body jumped up instantly. At the same time, small lightning bolts quickly emerged from Virgo's body. Stripes of blue and white arcs, the corners of the eyes of the monsters below trembling. What does this guy want to do? A little nervous in his heart. Wan Lei. With a low moan, Virgo grabbed the void with his hand, and then swiped down suddenly. One after another thunderbolt appeared in an instant, like a big net, falling overwhelmingly towards the monster below. Strange, monster. Looking at the thunder in the sky, the monster panicked, exclaimed, and countless tentacles rose into the sky, blocking the thunder and lightning. However, after those tentacles touched the lightning, they were instantly shattered by the lightning. Then more and more thunder and lightning fell, and the monster's body even began to collapse. The thunder and lightning continued to bombard continuously for 2 minutes, and even the place where the monster was located was like a tens of thousands of watts of strong light. When the thunder and lightning dissipated and the light disappeared, the monster's body was already broken and incomplete. But it didn't take long for the monster to recover immediately. However, everyone noticed that the monster seemed to be a little smaller than before. Interesting. Crocodile next to him was also interested. He used to watch the golden lion light on the projection, and he didn't want to watch it because he was bored. Now that the monster appeared in front of him, it was another experience. This time, not only did he not feel bored, but he even had an attitude of gearing up. Here, Virgo failed to do anything to the monster with one blow. Naturally, he was a little unwilling to condense the lightning again. This time, the lightning turned into a huge thunder dragon. As soon as the blue thunder dragon appeared, it immediately released a strong electromagnetic field, and the metals in the entire base were affected a lot. Advertisement. Roar. Not only the roar of the thunder dragon, but also the roar of thunder and lightning. After making a loud noise, the thunder dragon swooped down directly. This guy. Crocodile pouted, and immediately raised a sand from the ground to block Akira Yagyu and himself in front, and also revealed a fist-sized hole, so he could see the situation outside. Thunder Dragon slammed down directly, and the roar and thunder instantly enveloped the entire marine base. After a few breaths, the sound dissipated and the light disappeared. And that monster is still recovering strongly, and its stature is a lot smaller than before. If Shiki just brought Shiki back, the monster's body was the size of a football field. Now the monster is about the size of a basketball court. Virgo, come down and let me try. Seeing that even Virgo's 60 million volt 720 Thunder Dragon couldn't do anything to the other party, Crocodile said with a warlike expression. Hearing Crocodile's words, he immediately began to twist his tentacles. No, I surrender, if you have any requirements, just mention it, I hereby swear that I am willing to obey all your arrangements. The sprite was scared at the moment, he thought that the guy named Akira Yagyu should mainly rely on the guy with the blonde hair. Only now did he realize that everything was just his whims. Everyone present actually has the ability to beat him without fighting back. And he, in addition to possessing the ability of immortality, Circle cannot help any of these people. This kind of result made the sparrow be hit hard, thinking that he might be slashed several hundred times every day in the future, and the spear could not help but tremble with fear. Under great pressure, all he can do now is surrender. He knew very well that if he didn't surrender as soon as possible, I'm afraid she would have no chance to surrender by then. Chapter 322 Stupid Monsters. Crocodile was taken aback by the monster's words. Surrender? This is surrender? It's boring. Crocodile shook his head, dangling his cigarette and stepped aside like a rogue. On the contrary, Virgo, who fell down, still looks like he is still unfinished. Akira Yagyu knew that if the monster didn't surrender, Virgo would directly enter the Thor form. In this marine base, if Virgo was allowed to use it in a state of ecstasy, I am afraid that all the electronic instruments here would be scrapped. Okay, you first become the size of a human. Akira Yagyu nodded and said lightly towards the monster. Hearing that Akira Yagyu had spoken, the rest of the people naturally stopped talking, and both Virgo and Crocodile stepped aside. According to Akira Yagyu's request, the monster was transformed into a human figure radiating silver-gray light. The other party's whole person is wrapped in light, and apart from being able to determine that the other party is a man, nothing else can be distinguished. The sprite became the size of a normal person, gave Akira Yagyu a deep look, and then glanced at the bored others around him, before coming to Akira Yagyu to kneel respectfully on one knee. The sprite has seen His Highness. The sprite let out a respectful cry. Get up. Akira Yagyu nodded and said something lightly. Advertisement in the sprite was not polite, and stood up directly. However, the question of standing up was not idle. Instead, he jumped forward and came to Akira Yagyu's side in an instant. At the same time, he instantly displayed dozens of shots around Akira Yagyu. The tips of those tentacles were like lion majesty, staring at the bound Akira Yagyu. Hello, girl? The sprite's movements were very fast, and no one thought that they would do this. All of a sudden, they all looked at the sprite. And Crocodile is gearing up. I didn't expect you to be so careless, don't worry, I won't kill you, as long as I leave here, I will let you go, now you order your subordinates to keep them all away. Strictly speaking in Akira Yagyu's ear, he thought he would accept his fate and become a prisoner of others. I didn't expect Akira Yagyu to be so stupid, to let him approach him so easily, I was instantly excited. At this time, as long as he leaves here safely, if he finds a place and grabs it, no one will be able to find him. He has decided that after leaving here, he must recharge his batteries, and wait until these people are eliminated before coming out to confront the two idiots from the two countries. But he didn't notice that even though he was kidnapped, Akira Yagyu was still acting flat, even with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. It stands to reason that Akira Yagyu is a person who is extremely afraid of death, and now showing such a posture is naturally a means of not afraid of evil at all. However, Sphinx and Akira Yagyu have never met, and Luo Sha and Onogi have not told him much about Akira Yagyu's side, so naturally he doesn't know what Akira Yagyu is thinking at the moment. Virgo was the first to follow Akira Yagyu, and saw Akira Yagyu's plan at a glance, and glanced at Crocodile, who was eager to try. "Don't think about it, His Highness is going to do it himself," Virgo said leisurely, with a little more pity and sympathy in his tone. Advertisement. Hearing Virgo's reminder, Crocodile was stunned for a moment, and then he noticed Akira Yagyu's slightly playful expression, and immediately knew that he had no chance to do it, and immediately pouted. The ground under his feet was no longer desertified. Although the other people didn't understand what Akira Yagyu was thinking at this time, they all knew Akira Yagyu's strength. With the level of this monster, they didn't have the ability to treat their Highness Yagyu, so they all behaved calmly, not in a hurry to come up. "You all stay away." Akira Yagyu glanced at the generals and big pirates around, and gave an order in a leisurely manner. After everyone heard it, there was no objection, and they turned around and left a long distance. Even Gaidong, Guiwei and Qing seemed to have guessed something. For fear of being affected, they kept running back to the building in the distance. Seeing that the other party actually cooperated so well, GG was also a little surprised, and then his face was contemptuous again. Sure enough, as Luo Sha and the others guessed, your subordinates don't pay much attention to you. The sprite didn't know that Luo Sha and Onogi had readjusted their understanding of Akira Yagyu at this time, but they still used the previous two people's evaluation of Akira Yagyu to play a mockery. "Yeah, they are the hardest to discipline." Akira Yagyu nodded and said calmly, "Zhao Laos," but his eyes had already begun to change, and rounds of black circles kept expanding outwards, and a green bud in the center was also budding. And inside Akira Yagyu, the sealed nine tails also opened her eyes and felt that the chakra in her body was being rapidly extracted by Akira Yagyu. She wanted to struggle, but she couldn't move at all. It never thought that it would actually become Akira Yagyu's dedicated battery judge. In the distance, Crocodile also held the binoculars with great interest, looked at Akira Yagyu and the monster, and murmured while biting the cigarette. "What a stupid guy, dared to challenge His Highness." Chapter 323, Auto-generated chapter title. The 320th chapters of the Two Shadows each have ghosts. Sprite's undead army was chopped to pieces by the Golden Lion, and he was captured back to Marine Base in the Land of Fire. The news was also passed on to the two countries at the first time. "That idiot was exterminated so quickly. We even built a set of metal armor for his army." Luo Sha listened to the report of the scout ninja, and suddenly said with an ugly expression. Most of the metal of the sprite's armored army was provided by the country of the wind, but they were killed by Akira Yagyu's people so quickly, and only one person was dispatched, and the sprite and himself were captured. At least, he also helped us test the strength of Akira Yagyu's people, didn't he? Anomu next to him had nothing to worry about. After all, the sprite failed, and it saved them that they would end up with the Sphinx in the end. What he cared more about at this moment was Akira Yagyu's ability to nullify the puppet. Although it is not known what methods Akira Yagyu used, their scout ninjas saw with their own eyes that the originally ordered undead army began to become chaotic after entering the range of Akira Yagyu's army. Even the undead army went against the will of the similar questions and turned around. The people of the Land of Winds are extremely good at puppet arts. Whether it is the super first-class puppet master Chiyo who is still alive, or the powerful puppet arts of the Land of Winds, they have always been extremely feared by all countries. If you can get Akira Yagyu's ability to cut off Chakra's connection, you can definitely abolish half of the force of the Kingdom of Wind. And Luo Sha is not a fool. Just by looking at Oyegi's reaction, he knew that this guy was eyeing the puppet army of his own country. This damn Akira Yagyu has come up with another thing that can contain my wind country. At this time, Luo Sha hated Akira Yagyu so much that his teeth tickled. You study weapons and props, but it's raining and dew. It doesn't matter if there is a guy under his hand who can directly control the sand, and now even their puppet skills must be suppressed. But at this time, they and Akira Yagyu are already on fire, and he naturally won't have the chance to talk to Akira Yagyu again. The secrets of Akira Yagyu must be cracked before the land of the earth. Taking a deep breath, Luo Sha whispered in her heart. Meanwhile, in the Marine Fire Nation base, advertisement. The chakra in Akira Yagyu's body started to fluctuate, and naturally he felt it. Immediately, the snake-like tentacles bound to Akira Yagyu tightened a bit, and those long snakes raised their heads and roared at Akira Yagyu. "I warn you, don't try to do any tricks. If you don't want to die, just be honest." The sprite was also a little nervous. He wanted to get Akira Yagyu to cooperate honestly, but he was afraid that he would accidentally kill this guy and kill him, so he hurriedly threatened in a low voice. "Well, it's just a little uncomfortable." Akira Yagyu nodded, and then said something lightly. Before he could react, Akira Yagyu stretched his arms out, and the tentacles wrapped around Akira Yagyu's body were instantly broken. The subject was stunned. "You?" With an exclamation, the sprite instantly understood that this guy was more pervert than those before. Thinking of this, how dare you be so close to Akira Yagyu? Immediately without hesitation, he rushed out into the distance. "It's all pervert. Luo Sha and Oyemu dare to lie to me. I will kill you all." As the sprite fled, he cursed in his heart, In a ninja base of the Land of Winds, he listened to the analysis of two people and clearly said that this Akira Yagyu is just a puppet, AFBD. Now that it is a puppet, I am afraid that the strength is not at all worse than that of the golden-haired guy before. If possible, he would like to tear up the people of the Land of Wind and Land to vent his anger. However, now he can only complain in his heart now, thinking that he is still in the wolf's den. He is so frightened that he can't wait to try to suckle. However, a red golden light flashed across, and Akira Yagyu's figure appeared right in front of the sprite. The red gold nine-tails coat, the buds slowly bloomed in the eyes. Just a glance, the energy in the sprite's body instantly drained most of it. What's this? The sprite's expression changed, and he stepped back 100 meters in shock. Advertisement just now. In that moment, I felt as if I had experienced several years, and the chakra in my body had also gone through several years in an instant. Immediately, the sprite was even more nervous. However, he did not intend to give up and escape. I gritted my teeth. A wolf in my heart, go to hell. A low drink. The title directly revealed the body, and the huge figure instantly smashed down towards Akira Yagyu. At the same time, another burst of energy continued to flee into the distance. He knows that he is no match for Akira Yagyu, so he intends to devote most of his energy to contain Akira Yagyu. And as long as he can separate a part of it and escape, it won't be long before he can make a comeback. Still, he underestimated Akira Yagyu's strength. Facing the huge monster body, Akira Yagyu's eyes moved, and Nine-Tails chakra was instantly released, and the flames spread rapidly to the periphery like waves. Then Akira Yagyu raised his hand and grabbed it suddenly, and countless flames instantly condensed on the ground. Great Flame Ring Yandi. The circles of flames on the ground were instantly extracted and turned into a red sun of flames above Akira Yagyu's head. In the end, Akira Yagyu moved his wrist and threw the red sun on the palm of his head. At the same time, the foot flickered and disappeared in place again in an instant. When he appeared again, he had already caught up with the rough noodles again, blocking the front of the sprite. His face changed. He wanted to say something, but suddenly he felt a light shining behind him. When the sprite turned around, he found that his huge monster body was directly swallowed by the flames, and then disappeared without a trace. Seeing this, I was completely disappointed. Chapter 324. The battle is about to start, the army of the country of wind at sea. The hot flame drowned the body left by the sprite, and when it dissipated, there was no trace. I surrender. Seeing this, and looking at Akira Yagyu, who was ill-natured in front of him, wondering if his resistance was in vain, he immediately knelt down and confessed. Akira Yagyu didn't seem to hear the begging for mercy, but just pointed at the other party and muttered a word. Planetary devastation. The earth began to tremble, and countless rubble instantly condensed into a sphere in the sky, which was sucked into it instantly, and the next moment, it was submerged by earth and rocks. In the blink of an eye, it was forming into a huge sphere with a diameter of several hundred meters. The soil ball is not as big as the one that Golden Lion used to agglomerate with lion fruit. But compared to the pseudo-planetary devastation of Golden Lion's scattered earth and rocks. Once the ability is dissipated, the soil and rocks attached to it will automatically scatter. Akira Yagyu uses gravity to directly absorb the sprites and the soil and rocks into a whole, and the degree of firmness is far from that of the pseudo-planetary devastation built by Golden Lion. When Akira Yagyu returned with the huge earth ball, all the marine pirates looked very strange. The Whispering Rat. Akira Yagyu glanced at everyone, and finally fell on the mouse. At this time, the pain on Kumo's body had been bounced by the pacifist PX0 to Blackbeard, and the whole person had basically recovered. Hearing Akira Yagyu calling himself, countless immediately raised their chests and raised their heads and shouted, "Yes. I'll give you a Pluton battleship, and you'll take it back to Marine Base, and let Zephyr train the guy at Marine Academy." Advertisement. Akira Yagyu looked at the Whisper Mouse and said calmly, "Yes." Hearing Yagyu's order, Yushu didn't say a word, just nodded and agreed. At the same time, Whisper Mouse looked at the earth ball with coldness in his eyes. Not only is he going to take this thing to the Marine Academy to train, but he's going to tell Zephyr to take good care of the damn thing. Thinking of the Marines who died in the hands of this guy, if it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't beat them, Kumo would like to teach this monster a lesson in person. His Royal Highness, just now our patrol fleet in the Southern Sea sent back a message saying that they found the warship of the Land of Wind and requested to exchange fire with it. At this time, Virgo leaned over and said seriously towards Akira Yagyu. A warship of the Land of Wind? Since the Land of Wind chose to attack at sea, it must have come prepared, and dispatched a nearby fleet to support it. Hearing Virgo's report, Akira Yagyu froze for a moment, then nodded and gave an order. Before Virgo could speak, the Golden Lion suddenly came over. Shiki smiled sadly, as if he had something to say. "Virgo, you go with the Golden Lion, and after defeating the enemy, return directly from the Broken Sea." Akira Yagyu still didn't know that this guy was not addicted to the game, and now he was staring at the army of the Country of Wind, thought for a while, and then ordered. The Sea Break Zone was named after Marine last used the Dragonbane to create a sea full of reefs between the Land of Fire and the Land of Wind, where ships could not travel. After preparing for so long, the Kingdom of Wind finally couldn't help it. Akira Yagyu naturally wouldn't underestimate the other party. Now that most of the ninja world has fallen under his control, Sage of Six Paths must have been unable to sit still. living. 0. Ask for flowers. Also, you bring a group of people over. Advertisement. After a pause, Akira Yagayu suddenly spoke again. Are you going to bring someone? Virgo did not speak, but the Golden Lion was a little different. Taking Virgo with his strength was already superfluous, and he had to ask them to take him. He couldn't help but feel that His Highness was a little too careful. Akira Yagayu didn't explain, just looked at Whisper Mouse. You assign them a warship with a few chakra shields on it. Akira Yagayu commanded in a low voice. 0. Yes. The mouse responded immediately. Although Golden Lion was reluctant, he did not dare to disobey Akira Yagayu's order, and immediately retreated with the Whisper Mouse. Get ready, Crocodile, you, along with Blackbeard and the pacifist PX0, are leading a fleet to the northwest. I guess the land of the land will not be able to sit still. Yagayu turned to Crocodile again and said that he just discovered the fleet of the Kingdom of the Wind in the Southern Sea, so the Kingdom of Earth must not be acting with the Kingdom of the Wind. If the land of the land is not stupid enough to want him to outflank from the country of Iron in the north, it will definitely follow the route when the monster army came. Akira Yagayu had seen the effect of the chakra shielding device before. Although Golden Lion and the others dismissed it, Akira Yagayu knew that this thing was definitely not as simple as they thought. Otherwise Akira Yagayu wouldn't support Suru Vice Admiral and they would be researching this thing at the base. After all, chakra is a means of survival for ninjas. Although it cannot completely block the use of chakra by ninjas, twisting the output frequency of chakra can definitely have unexpected effects. Chapter 325 Luo Sha's Plan, at Akira Yagayu's request. Golden Lion and Virgo led 3 frigates to the Southern Sea. Crocodile and Blackbeard, along with the pacifists, went to the northwest of the Land of Fire, waiting for the army of the Land of Earth to arrive. After that, Akira Yagayu was like nothing else, and the old god was hiding in his office. I haven't attacked other countries recently, so the reputation value has not increased. Ishida Shinkai just wants to recruit some new marines or pirates. Soon after, the news that Akira Yagayu's army was dispatched was also relayed back to 730 by the scouts of the Land of Earth and the Land of Wind. Akira Yagayu's people have been dispatched. How are your preparations? At this moment, on the ship of the Kingdom of the Wind in the Southern Sea area, Luo Sha asked Oyemu, who was on the opposite side. Because of avoiding mission failure, Akira Yagayu's people discovered our communication system, so they did not bring our communication equipment when they attacked Akira Yagayu Water Country Base, so if you want to contact them, you can only send someone over, within 2 days. I've already sent someone over there before. Oyemu glanced at Luo Sha and said calmly. The time has come to end the battle, and the two are now staring at each other to prevent the other from taking the lead, and at the same time, to prevent Akira Yagayu from destroying them one by one. Pause. I have sent all the troops in the country of my land to the country of water. I hope nothing will go wrong. Onogi continued to speak, and could not help frowning. Advertisement. Seeing Oyemu's worried appearance, Luo Sha sneered in his heart. This old guy definitely wants to take advantage of this opportunity. Luo Sha murmured inwardly, and had already figured out Onogi's thoughts. In their opinion, although the monster failed, the battle was almost over, and both sides had already picked up their knives to divide the big cake in front of them. Seeing that Luo Sha did not speak, Oyemu raised his lower lip. Akira Yagayu fell down this time, thanks to 4th Kage's surprise attack on Akira Yagayu's rear advice, coupled with the warship in the land of our land. Akira Yagayu has suffered a big loss. After that, Onogi made a sound, and his eyes were fixed on Luo Sha. Now there are only 2 big countries left in the world, and even the monster that claims to have the undead army has been planted in Akira Yagayu's hands, and only the 2 of them are left to divide the fruits of victory. Then everything is much simpler. No need to consider other people, just find a way to maximize the benefits of your own country, while weakening the opponent's trump card. And what he said was to remind Luo Sha that Akira Yagayu's nest was all his people. If Luo Sha still wants to benefit from it, he will take the initiative to propose how to divide the cake. It's too early to say this, but I heard that Akira Yagayu sent 2 masters to stop us. Luo Sha didn't seem to hear a trace of Oyemu, just looked at Oyemu with a strange look, and then said with some worry. Oyemu still can't hear that this guy is sincere to drag him. Oyemu is not in a hurry. The water country has been occupied by them, and now he has sent out a few thousand ninjas, and he is ready to intercept Akira Yagayu. At that time, once Akira Yagayu is caught, everything is still up to the country of his land. For this action, Onogi is full of confidence, not only because of his army, but also because of the latest weapon they developed through Yin-Yang escape. The power of Yin and Yang far surpasses Akira Yagayu's technological power and the abilities of his subordinates. Advertisement. The ability of creation and endowment allows them to create strong men like Akira Yagayu's subordinates. When they get the research materials from Akira Yagayu's side, if the 2 can be combined, they can even recreate Akira Yagayu's subordinate Nashi, and a strong army is not impossible. Soon, the army of the Land of Winds reached the offshore, but they did not rush to land, as if they were waiting for something. Soon, 3 huge warships emerged from the sky and quickly approached the army of the Land of Wind. Report Kazuki-sama, 3 metal warships of Akira Yagayu are flying towards this direction. A ninja immediately reported with a somewhat incredulous tone. For ninjas, conquering the sky is also an extremely difficult task. Although the people of the Sky Country have also developed props that can make people fly in the sky for a short time, but compared to Akira Yagiyu's warships that directly make hundreds of meters long the ability to fly, it seems trivial. 1.3 Anyone has to admit that Akira Yagiyu's military scientific research strength far exceeds that of any other country. The ninjas can't imagine what kind of weapons they will develop if Akira Yagiyu continues to develop. It's finally here. It seems that I haven't waited in vain for the past 2 days. Luo Sha raised her eyelids and said with a smile. What he had been waiting for was the arrival of this unit from Akira Yagiyu. Combined with ninja remnants from all over the world, they have speculated that Akira Yagiyu's minions are likely to be afraid of the sea. And they are waiting in this offshore, just to use the seawater to deal with the enemy. Chapter 326 Ninjas Asian Ninja Force, please Kun into the urn. Just when Luo Sha was glad that he did not wait in vain. The outer waters of the marine base of the Land of Water have once again welcomed the ship of the Land of Earth. This time, it was 5 building ships that directly dispatched half of the ninjas in the Land of the Land. Crane Vice Admiral, the enemy ship has entered our waters. Has it released a giant Super Sea King's attack? Naval Headquarters, which had already discovered the traces of the building ships, had already filed an attack application against Crane Vice Admiral as soon as the building ships entered the controllable range. I heard that the Land of Wind has started to attack His Highness. These should be the Land of Earth to support the troops of those people last time, planning to raid His Highness from the rear. After a pause, Vice Admiral Crane understood the other party's plan at this time. Grant release. Crane Vice Admiral nodded and agreed directly. 05. Several Sea Kings rushed towards the building ship in the Land of the Earth, and soon after, they came to the bottom of the building ship. Lord Kitu. Hypersensing ninjas have found traces of giant creatures moving underwater. The ninjas in the Land of the Earth immediately reported loudly to the 3rd Tsuchikage escort Kitu, who was in charge of the task. Hearing the ninjas' report, Kitu moved in his heart, and then said loudly, "Raise the alarm immediately and send the Asian ninja troops." After he finished speaking, Kitu's brows furrowed together. For some reason, he always had a bad feeling. Not long after, the sound of an alarm suddenly sounded on the ship of the Land of the Land. The ninja in the building boat moved quickly, and some ninjas still hold scrolls in their hands. Those ninjas came to the deck without the slightest hesitation, and flew out using the light and heavy rock technique, and then fell on the sea around the building ship. Quickly unroll the reel, quickly form a handprint on the reel, and finally press the palm on the reel to output chakra on the reel. Call. Boom. A stream of white smoke flashed. Advertisement: the scrolls were cracked and there were silhouettes like seawater condensed. As soon as those figures appeared, without any hesitation, they sank directly into the sea. And those shinobi on the sea also jumped up quickly and used light and heavy rocks to take themselves out of the sea again. Everyone hurry up, we're going full speed ahead. Kitu watched the ninjas come back and immediately shouted. The ninjas in the cabin responsible for pushing the chakra reformer increased the output of chakra, and the speed of the building ship suddenly increased. The 5 building ships quickly left the original area. And at the same time, the huge creature under the sea surface finally floated up, and the seawater above it was quickly pushed to both sides. However, in the seawater, water dragons that were several tens of meters thick condensed. As the water dragon tossed for a while, huge Na's body shook, and instead of continuing to surface, it quickly sank. Immediately afterwards, the rich blood water quickly turned out from it. The same scene happened in more than one place. In many places behind the building ship, thick blood is constantly pouring out. At the same time, report Crane Vice Admiral, all our supergiant Sea Kings were killed. The Marine Central Command Center also reported the battle results to Crane Vice Admiral immediately. Okay. Hearing the report of the person below, Vice Admiral's eyes suddenly narrowed. The last time the supergiant Sea Kings directly overturned the enemy's warship and engulfed most of the enemy's army. Now it was actually killed in a very short period of time. It seems that they have also developed some new weapons. Advertisement. Crane Vice Admiral's eyes jumped, and he murmured solemnly. Unexpectedly, in a short period of time, the other party has developed a weapon that can kill supergiant Sea Kings thousands of meters long. The enemy is approaching the land at an extremely fast speed, and is requesting the dispatch of a maritime blocking force. At this time, the Marine Command Center continued to be questioned. No, let them land and we will capture them alive. Crane Vice Admiral shook his head and rejected the application for blocking. If the opponent does not show any means to directly destroy it, it is fine. That's when the Land of the Land seems to have brought some new weapons. Naturally, they have to analyze what kind of trump card is the first time, and work out a solution as soon as possible. The order of the Crane Vice Admiral was quickly conveyed, and all maritime blocking forces were immediately withdrawn. And the ninjas in the Land of the Land were unimpeded along the way, which made the original Kitu worry a little bit. Looks like it was some kind of experiment by Akira Yagiyu's army, because the base 730 land was captured, so I ran out. Thinking of the reddish seawater before, Kitu shook his head. He didn't see the real reminders of those monsters, and only regarded them as some monsters that were larger than ordinary sea beasts. Soon, the ships of the Land approached the land. Because it was close to the shallow sea, the ninjas got off the boat one after another, stepped on the sea and quickly approached the land. Report Crane Vice Admiral that the enemy has disembarked and is approaching the land. Every move of the ninja in the land was immediately transmitted back to the Marine Central Command Center, and the staff naturally reported to Vice Admiral Crane in real time. Crane Vice Admiral nodded here. Everyone is ready to directly divide the battlefield after their large troops log in. Marine has made preparations in advance, and a large number of Marines have been hidden on both sides of the strait. This time, they plan to not only defeat the other side, but also capture them alive to analyze the other side's latest weapons. In His Highness's words, this trick is called Please Coon into the urn. After a pause, Vice Admiral murmured in his heart. Chapter 327 Trap Soon, the ninjas of the land have come to the shore. Huh? There are a lot of our people. It seems that this old nest of Akira Yagayu is really occupied by the Lois. Kitu glanced in the direction of the coast and found that there were many ninjas in hats standing near the coast, and immediately said aloud. Little did he know that these were disguised by Marine and Kirigakure. Crane Vice Admiral, the target has disembarked. The staff of Marine's Central Command Center immediately spoke to Crane Vice Admiral. It's time to block their escape route, be sure to leave some to live. Crane Vice Admiral nodded, and then issued the next order. For a time, Marine, who was hiding on both sides, moved quickly. Dozens of giants rushed out first on both sides of the strait. Led by the giant Vice Admiral Saren, dozens of giants rushed out quickly and directly blocked the exit of the strait. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! In an instant, panicked shouts rang out from the boat. The 5 huge building ships responded quickly, and the artillery on them wanted to attack, but those giants stepped on the sea, and their speed was surprisingly fast, directly causing waves of dozens of meters. Especially for Saren, when he directly opened the 6th gate, the speed also broke through the speed of sound. The waves brought by the sonic boom were like a tsunami, and even the giants around him did not dare to get too close. Tempest kick, Sa Long's body swayed, and his foot that broke through the speed of sound instantly tore the air, and threw out a huge air blade that was hundreds of meters high. In an instant, the chi came to the blade of the building boat, and the ninja above had no time to react, and the chi blade directly tore the huge building ship in half. And at this time, Kaito, who had already come to the shore, reacted. Be careful. There are traps, gas. Kaito's face changed, and he exclaimed in surprise, but it was already too late. The hooded ninjas on the shore instantly took out the improved firearms from behind. It is much smaller than before, but because it is made of chakra transmission material, you can effectively use chakra to assist aiming and increase the burst function. Advertisement. Boom. A series of gunshots spewed out from the muzzles of the ninjas on the shore of the flames, and the ninjas in the front had no time to react, and were directly overwhelmed by the dense barrage. Use the Asian ninja troops. Kitu roared violently. The ninjas took out the scrolls and quickly formed the seal. After a burst of smoke flashed, a group of ninjas seemed to be condensed from the sea quickly appeared on the sea. As soon as those ninjas appeared, they rushed towards the shore. The guns in Marine's hands on the shore were still spewing flames, but the strange thing was that the bullets directly penetrated the bodies of those sea ninjas. It didn't cause the slightest damage to the figures released by the Earth Ninja. The guns and bullets couldn't stop the ninjas formed by the seawater, and soon those guys rushed to the shore first. The ninja who had just touched the sand from the sea, those ninjas who had condensed in the sea instantly turned into sand ninjas. As soon as those ninjas landed, they quickly formed their seals. A huge earth dragon emerged from the ground, Earth-style earth dragon bullet. The earth dragon opened its mouth wide, and a huge earth ball spewed out, and Marine on the shore was instantly scattered by the earth ball. In just a few breaths, the hundreds of Marines on the shore were all killed by the ninjas who washed ashore. At this time, the 5 building ships had been destroyed by Saren. The ninjas above also all jumped down. In the same way, many people took out the scrolls and released the ninjas formed by the seawater. Humph, system. Looking at those guys as big as mice, Saren showed disdain and snorted coldly. The footsteps flickered, and they stepped on those elemental ninjas in an instant, and those elemental ninjas were directly smashed by Saren. Advertisement, however, those water element ninjas were not afraid of attack at all. The next moment, the seawater condensed and became its original appearance again. Even those elemental ninjas are still constantly mobilizing the seawater under their bodies. After a few breaths, they have risen to a height of more than 10 meters, which is comparable to the surrounding giant Marine soldiers who are not yet adults. Seeing the appearance of a guy of the same size as him, the giant Marine around him all screamed in excitement. Salong's eyes are also full of fighting spirit. The next moment, the other giant's Marine also burst into green light and rushed over quickly. 100. Eat. Wow. The water splashed, and the elemental ninjas condensed by the sea were all scattered into water. But the next moment, they all reunited. Not only that, even if their bodies are broken, their palms are still imprinted. Soon, huge water dragons rose from the sea and rushed towards the giants. However, he was also broken up by Zhao Haohao, people directly with brute force. For a time, neither of the two sides could do anything to the other. And the Kitu who successfully landed had not had time to make the next move. There was a deep vibration in the distance. Boom. 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 I saw huge figures with a height of 7 or 8 meters leaping out of the forest. It is the pacifist who has been waiting for so long. Damn it, It's the Akira Yagyu trap. It seems that we have all been deceived. In the beginning, we were not captured by the Lois and the others, and the information passed back was false. Seeing so many Marines troops, Kaitu's complexion changed. He had already guessed the fate of Lois and the others, and his complexion became extremely gloomy. Chapter 328 Dispatch CP9 Kaitu's heart is about to explode with anger. He did not expect that Akira Yagyu had been leading the country all the time. Not only did the Lois fail to capture Akira Yagyu's base headquarters, but even the secret code was deciphered and sent false news back. At this time, he could already imagine. I am afraid that Shengming would have been eager for people from the two countries to take the initiative to come to the door for a decisive battle. Thinking that the country of soil is likely to be calculated by Akira Yagyu, or even wiped out, Kitu took a deep breath and couldn't help but shivered. No, absolutely can't let this happen, Kitu muttered with a solemn expression. He wanted the ninjas to pass the news to Tsuchikage, but the pacifists wouldn't give them a chance. Whoosh! Whoosh! One after another golden rays of light shot out, and the ninjas who had just gathered were directly scattered, and the roar of the explosion caused smoke and dust. The figures of the ninjas were drowned in the smoke. Good chance, taking advantage of the smoke, we can release ninjutsu. Many ninjas were not surprised but delighted, and the appearance of smoke and dust allowed them to use the obstacles of the smoke and dust in the sky to release ninjutsu. Those pacifists are no ordinary ninjas, though. A high-performance robot that has already been mass-produced by Marines. However, the perverts of the scientific research team have developed a device that can detect chakra fluctuations and installed them on them. Those ninjas are fine if they don't mobilize chakra. Once they use chakra, they are like a beacon in the dark night, and they are easily locked by those pacifists. Whoosh! Hey! A series of rays sank into the smoke. There was a constant roar, and many ninjas didn't even know what happened. They were pierced by the ray, and then torn to pieces by the explosion when the ray hit the ground. For a while, a thick blood mist began to be mixed in the smoke and dust. And Wang Ren also found the bodies of their companions. Advertisement, get out, don't be in this dusty fog. AFBD, the terracotta shouted, and the smoke and dust first spewed out. Kitu, who had just opened the smoke and dust, didn't have time to take a breath, and then a series of light spots shot towards him. Damn! With a secret curse, Kaitu jumped away again. Kitu has just left the position he occupied. Those light spots disappeared into the ground, and a burst of smoke exploded again. The terracotta gritted his teeth and used the light and heavy rock technique, and his body quickly rose into the air. For a moment, Kaitu's face was full of incredible. In the front, a dense group of big guys who look exactly the same is moving towards this side. Hey, how come there are so many? Kitu exclaimed in amazement. At this time, more than half of the thousands of ninjas he brought were still in the water. If this is all close, there will be a round of bombing. I am afraid they will all be buried here. Summon all the Asian ninja troops. Gritting his teeth, Kitu immediately shouted. Immediately afterwards, Kaitu grabbed a scroll from his waist and used it directly in the air. After that, the terracotta fell rapidly, and immediately formed a seal as soon as it landed, and then pressed on the scroll. A burst of smoke flashed past, and 4 ninjas condensed from yellow sand appeared in front of him. Then the golden light lit up again, and the terracotta complexion did not change, and the 4 yellow sand condensed figures quickly greeted them. Boom! The explosion sounded, and the 4 yellow sand ninjas were scattered. But after a while, it quickly condensed into its original appearance. Such situations were all reported to the Marine Central Command Center. Advertisement, huh? Can't you kill it? Crane Vice Admiral looked at the reunited figures with a strange expression and said something strange. It seems more similar to the monster that the exorcist just sent. A figure came over and said calmly, Zephyr, you. Looking at the figure next to him, Vice Admiral Crane was startled and wanted to say something. However, Zephyr next to him waved his hand. I asked a few people from CP9 to take the 2 little girls Yu and Shui to the beach. I have to say, that kid Lu Chi is really a genius. In a short period of time, he has already mastered armament hockey and observation hockey, plus with 8 inner gates, and his devil fruit bonus and health return bonus, he's no worse than me. There are also 2 little girls. In terms of ninjutsu alone, there is no need for any difference between the 2. In addition to 8 inner gates and Marine 6 styles, your highness has a really good eye. Zephyr grinned, showing 2 rows of white teeth. As the chief instructor of Marine Academy, Zephyr is most pleased to be able to teach students who will be useful to Akira Yagyu. You all came out. What about the monsters? Crane Vice Admiral frowned and continued to ask Zephyr. The monster was ordered by Akira Yagyu to be subdued. Zephyr and others ran out. I am afraid that the monster is going to turn upside down in Marine Academy. You don't have to worry about that. Orochimaru seems to be quite interested in that monster, not to mention, isn't there a Tsunade? Zephyr still smiled. Obviously, as a high-level Marine, he is not a brainless person. Naturally, he has already arranged everything. Hearing Zephyr's words, Vice Admiral nodded and didn't say anything. Crane Vice Admiral once again looked at the projection passed back by the videophone bug, looking at the silhouettes that kept recovering, and couldn't help but continue to frown. Try it with a chakra shield. At this time, Zephyr suddenly made a sound and reminded him. Chakra shielding device? Hearing Zephyr's words, Crane Vice Admiral was taken aback. According to the methods of those ninjas, things like puppets should be manipulated by chakra, at least that's what the monster did. Zephyr looked at the screen and said calmly, Chapter 329 Game. Hearing Zephyr's reminder, Crane Vice Admiral nodded, then turned around and set his eyes on the staff beside him. Order them to turn on the chakra shield and try, Crane Vice Admiral said towards the staff member. Yes. The staff responded and immediately dialed the frontline phone bug. Seeing the rapidly busy staff, Zephyr grinned. Looks like I'm still talking nonsense. Zephyr said with a smile. There's a chakra shielding device on the battlefield, indicating that the Crane has long planned to use the chakra shielding device, and even if he doesn't say it, the Crane will let people use it. Hearing the self-mockery in Zephyr's words, Vice Admiral smiled and didn't say much. The news quickly reached the battlefield. Hearing the order, the scientific ninja who was accompanying him immediately took the chakra shielding device and began to approach the front. At the same time, the chakra fluctuation frequency on the chakra shielding device was constantly picked up, trying to influence the ninjas that the elements condensed into. The waves of chakra spread into the battlefield, which affected many ninjas, but those who were affected were all scout ninjas, and the elemental figures summoned by the ninjas with scrolls were not affected in the slightest. It doesn't work. Zephyr raised his brows and said with some disagreement. It seems that chakra is stored in those scrolls themselves, otherwise it would be impossible not to be affected. Crane Vice Admiral saw the problem at a glance. The chakra shielding device can only affect the ninja's instructions to the puppets and summoned beasts through chakra, and will not affect the things that have chakra themselves. Doesn't that mean that the chakra shields aren't effective against these guys? Zephyr frowned. The chakra shielding device was something they were working on, and he was a little unwilling to let the enemy come up with a solution not long after it was researched. Advertisement. No, it's not ineffective. Crane Vice Admiral shook his head when he heard Zephyr's words. Although the chakra shielding device can't paralyze those things, we can interfere with the high-frequency chakra fluctuations, so that those ninjas can't give the next order to the strange things that are summoned. Crane Vice Admiral said calmly, chakra shielding device can not only interfere with chakra transmission. More importantly, it still interferes with chakra's incoming signal, and directly intercepts, disrupts, and distorts the ninja's instructions to summon creatures through high frame rate and high-frequency chakra fluctuations. After all, not all summoning beasts can understand human words, and the connection between ninjas and summoned things is mainly through chakra. Let one of them turn on high frequencies, one with low frequencies, and the others on free frequencies. Crane continued to instruct those staff members, all act again. And the scientific ninjas on the periphery of the battlefield continued to debug the chakra shielding device. Chakra fluctuations of various frequencies quickly cut into the battlefield and began to distort the chakra signals of those ninjas manipulating the elemental figures on the battlefield. If we can get the scrolls in the hands of the enemy, we can decipher the chakra fluctuations on the scrolls and simulate the chakra fluctuations to forcibly control those figures. Crane Vice Admiral looked at the trembling ninjas on the projection and said solemnly. The strength of ninjas lies in their ability to study and progress. The ninjas of the Land of Wind and Land are trying to understand the attack methods of Akira Yagyu almost all the time, and conduct targeted research according to the army of Akira Yagyu. And the Marines are not fools. They are also constantly monitoring the various information displayed by the mobile ninjas, and are also developing various new weapons in a targeted manner. And this chakra shield is the result of Marines' research. 0. Ask for flowers. At this time, it was not so much that the two countries fought against Akira Yagyu. Advertisement rather, it is a collision between the scientific research methods of the ninjas in the ninja world and the scientific research level of the scientific research team under Akira Yagyu. Each side is researching the means to put the other side in the dead place. Once someone is thrown away, then the end will be their doom. At this time, the people of CP9 have also come to the battlefield. Lu Chi took the lead, directly transformed into a leopard form, stepped on his foot, set off a wave of air, and rushed out instantly. And the others did not hesitate one by one, showing their respective abilities. So long at Marine College, although they are calling students as teachers. However, while teaching their students, they were still receiving Zephyr's cries. As the general instructor of the Marine Academy, Zephyr can be said that most of the arrivals in Marine come from his cry, and his education level can be regarded as the top in the entire One Piece world. And Lu Chi and the others were able to follow Zephyr. Zephyr naturally made a training plan for them, and their strengths improved by leaps and bounds like taking medicine. Teacher Shuai is amazing. Why don't we just watch them fight here? Yu looked at Lu Chi's figure, and immediately pulled Yu aside and said happily. However, when Khalifa heard Yu's words, she walked over with a smile. This is for training the two of you. People who don't go to the battlefield are no different from trash no matter how powerful they are. Are you going up to find the enemy yourself, or will I throw it in for you? Khalifa said to the two with a smile, although there was a smile on his face, but Yu and Shui had a cold war, and they knew that the woman in front of them definitely did what she said. Let's go by ourselves, and we won't bother you, Teacher Khalifa. Yu hurriedly said to Khalifa with a smile, and then quickly dragged Yu into the battlefield factory. Chapter 330 The Powerful Lu Chi. Watching Yu and Shui enter the battlefield. Khalifa followed. Even she was stunned by the strength of the two little girls in front of her. At this time, the strength of the two little girls was no worse than hers. You must know that she has been improving all the time, but compared to the two little girls, but the speed of progress is a bit dwarfed by the two little girls. Although Yu and Shui's strengths were already among the best class of students in the entire Marine Academy, they were helpless in the face of the elemental figures released by those ninjas. No matter how they attacked, the figures formed by the yellow sand were still attacking those pacifists without hesitation. 737, Lu Qi and the others. Ignoring those yellow sand ninjas at all, he went directly to Shuren. Lu Qi directly entered the form of Devil Fruit, and his strength and speed have been greatly improved. Likewise, his body was much larger than before. However, compared to those pacifists who are 7 or 8 meters tall, he is still a small man. Razor. Lu Qi's figure instantly disappeared while running, like a black shadow, instantly cut into the team of ninjas. It's a fusion of Marine 6 styles and moonwalk. The control itself is to take more than 10 steps in an instant, and the combination of moonwalk skills makes the body out of contact with the ground, stepping on the air at an extremely fast speed, and achieves a faster speed effect. Without giving those ninjas a chance to react at all, Lu Qi had already come directly to the center of the ninjas. Finger pistol. Without hesitation, Lu Qi directly stretched out his hand and pierced the body of a ninja beside him. The ninja's eyes widened, and he didn't even know how he was killed. There are enemies. Kitu was the first to react, his eyes narrowed, and he immediately exclaimed. Lu Qi didn't give the few people next to him time to react. Advertisement Tempest Kick. Leopard Tail. With a flick of Lu Qi's foot, a huge ring-shaped slash like a beast's tail quickly flew straight to the side. A huge circle of light with a diameter of several meters cut into the group of ninjas in an instant. The ninjas didn't have time to block the seal, and their bodies were like paper, and they were instantly split in half by the huge ring-shaped slash. More than a dozen earthen ninjas died on the spot. Damn. Seeing the tragic death of more than a dozen companions in an instant, Kaitu's eyes turned red, and he cursed inwardly. The next moment, a thick layer of soil was instantly attached to the Kitu double fists, like a glove, and smashed directly towards Lu Qi, who was slaughtering those ninjas. Lu Qi wrinkled his nose and felt the attack from the side. But I saw that Lu Qi didn't dodge, turn around directly, and faced the terracotta. This guy is going to take the attack of Lord Kitu? Looking at Lu Qi's actions, the ninja next to him was shocked. However, for Kitu, this is the heart of the matter. His strength is in the forefront of the Earth Ninja village, and the Earth Ninja is forged with strength, and no one can resist his attack. However, Lu Qi's practice of Marine 6 styles is very skilled, and it can even be said that he has reached the level of a Grandmaster, and even the Return of Life has been able to achieve the size of forcibly changing his leopard form. Coupled with the blessing of Devil Fruit, his physical strength was astonishingly powerful. In the face of two fists like giant hammers wrapped in mud, Lu Qi was not afraid at all. Even without resisting in the slightest, he straightened his chest, intending to use his body to hit the terracotta attack. Such a gesture made Kitu's eyes flash with a hint of hesitation, but he could no longer tolerate it. Go to hell. With a low drink, Kitu's fist slammed down without hesitation. Lu Qi raised the corner of his mouth, and there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. Iron body, empty wood, advertisement. Kitu's attack hit Lu Qi's fist. Boom. A muffled sound came into everyone's ears, like a sledgehammer hitting a hard steel plate. But Lu Qi's body was like a huge steel plate, motionless. The terracotta is red. Wow. The soil attached to Kitu's fist instantly shattered into countless pieces, and Kitu's body was directly thrown out. Lord Kitu. Seeing that Kitu attacked the enemy, and was actually bounced back, the ninja next to him couldn't help but exclaimed. Kitu's body hit the ground heavily, and his chest was churning. Wow. Kitu's complexion couldn't help spurting out a mouthful of blood, and the whole person was in a state of embarrassment. At this time, Kaitu's eyes were full of horror. He didn't know if the blow just now had an impact on the other party, but he himself felt an indescribable anti-shock force, and now he only felt that all the bones in his body were about to fall apart. And both fists fell into numbness. If this power is transmitted to the body of ordinary people, I am afraid that it can be shattered on the spot. This guy is a master of taijutsu, let the Asian ninja army stop him. After gasping for 1.3 breaths, Kitu stood up with difficulty and said loudly to the ninjas around him. His eyes were full of solemnity. The opponent's physical skills are too strong for him, and they have no way to stop the opponent. No one can withstand the opponent's attack, they can only use the Asian ninja troops to entangle this person, and then use ninjutsu to kill the opponent. Hearing Kitu's order, the ninjas quickly dispatched the Asian ninja troops to besiege Lu Qi, but for some reason, no matter how they output chakra, it is useless. The Asian ninja troops seem to have not heard the general, still continued to execute the previous orders, kept attacking those pacifists. Chapter 331 Sealing Technique. The abnormal performance of those Asian ninja troops shocked the ninjas present. They didn't understand why the Yaren they summoned would not obey their orders. Could it be the way these guys dealt with that monster before? After all, Kitu was with Onogi. Looking at the performance of those sub-ninjas, Kitu reminded him of the information that the undead army controlled by the monsters had been seized by Akira Yagayu's army in some way. Damn, these guys can even influence the Asian ninja troops. Thinking of the information sent back by the Rock Shinobi village spies, and looking at the pacifist Yanin who was still stubbornly attacking the pacifist Yanin, who had been smashed by ninjutsu, Kitu gritted his teeth, and his heart sank suddenly. At this time, Lu Chi did not come to chase Kitu, but saw a big killing among those ninjas. As Kitu guessed, no ninja could withstand an attack from Luigi. Every time Lu Chi attacks, a ninja's body will be torn apart. At this time, Lu Chi, with his devil fruit-like body, was really like a beast that devoured people. Use beastization. Gritting his teeth and watching Lu Chi's mad slaughter, Kai-Tu finally shouted. Beastification is based on the yin and yang escape in the beast genes given by the Sage of Six Paths, and is modeled on the artificial devil fruit of Akira Yagayu's army. Different from the artificial devil fruit, after the improvement of yin and yang, their animalization is more convenient to use than those artificial demon fruit power in the Land of Wind. Moreover, it can also hide the animalization when it is not needed. It can be said that the disadvantages of Akira Yagayu's artificial devil fruit have been eliminated. If there is a slight drawback, it is that the animalized ninja cannot be useful. However, with the existence of chakra, they can completely step on the water, so this disadvantage is not a disadvantage. In the eyes of Akira Yagayu has surpassed Akira Yagayu in their scientific research capabilities for the devil fruit. The people of the two countries do not know that their painstakingly researched abilities are only those of Akira Yagayu's elimination. Advertisement. Even because of the existence of Marine Mall, Akira Yagayu didn't let anyone research these devil fruits at all. And the so-called elimination of the evils of the land is only to erase the animal wills left in the artificial devil fruit. In fact, the loss of the animals will increases the consumption of the artificial devil fruit, which is already a great burden on the human body. If the original artificial devil fruit consumes several times the power of the normal state every moment. So at this time, the burden on the body of these guys in the state of beastization has exceeded 10 times. Once they withdraw from beastification, all the exhaustion and pain will be fed back to the body more than tenfold. Kitu is also even all of this, so he will only now let the ninjas enter the beastization. With the order of Kitu, those ninjas no longer hesitated, and their body parts began to change horizontally. Some ninjas have their hands turned into tiger claws. Some have bison-like feet on their heads. Some even had wings growing directly behind their backs. At time, the entire seaside battlefield seemed to have turned into a zoo, with half-human, half-beast monsters looking at Lu Chi. At this time, Kaku and Jabra, who saw the changes of these ninjas, all gathered over. It's kind of interesting, these guys are actually able to become capable. Let's talk about it first. I'm not here to help you, I just think there are more people here, and it's more fun to kill. Looking at the changes of those ninjas, Jabra also directly entered the form of a werewolf, and then did not forget to say a word to Lu Chi, as if fighting with Lu Chi was like a shame. Lu Chi didn't answer, just snorted coldly and charged directly towards the ninja in front. The others were not idle, and also rushed towards the surrounding ninjas. Advertisement. Although more than 2,000 ninjas have landed on the shore, the group of CP9 is not afraid at all. Even, the eyes of these people also ignited a strong fighting intent. These guys are all lunatics, stop them, and the others are preparing to seal. Seeing the crazy eyes of the few people in front of them, Kai-Tu also twitched the corners of his eyes, and immediately exclaimed in the next moment. Those ninjas who had entered the beast transformation rushed up one after another. And the ninjas who did not acquire the ability of beastization also took out the scrolls from their waists, and then quickly formed seals and began to prepare for the sealing technique. 737. They knew very well that with their abilities, it would be very difficult to kill the opponent, and the most effective one was the sealing technique. One of the ninjas is ready to finish first, step aside. The ninja threw the scroll up and shouted at the ninja in front. Hearing the voices of the ninjas behind, those ninjas who were struggling to resist CP9 were shocked and quickly retreated. Otonashi, who was fighting with those ninjas, was suddenly stunned and subconsciously looked behind those ninjas. I saw that the ninja mobilized with chakra, the scroll quickly turned, and the white scorpion sprang out from it, like a long snake, and quickly rushed to the front of Otonashi. Okay. Otonashi frowned. Immediately use paper arts and miss out on the hits. However, under the control of the ninja, the training quickly bypassed from behind and directly climbed onto Otonashi's arm. What? Yin Wu's expression changed, and he wanted to tear the scroll apart, but the training speed was extremely fast, and he wrapped his arms directly around him, wrapping half of his body in the blink of an eye. The next moment, Otonashi was wrapped into a mummy. Chapter 332, Measures Against Sealing. Looking at Otonashi, who has been wrapped into a zongzi. A group of ninjas suddenly became emboldened. However, it seems that Akira Yagayu's subordinates don't understand seal art. Once we take this place, we will report to 3rd Tsuchikage-sama immediately. Seeing Otonashi being subdued, Kitu felt relieved, and immediately said with a smile. But at this moment, a silver-white arc of light swept back against his body. When Kitu reacted, the ninja who released the sealing technique was directly cut in half by the arc light. Kitu's face changed, and he quickly looked in the direction of the arc, and found that Lu Chi was looking at him indifferently in the distance. The whole person is like a giant leopard standing up, and Kitu's heart is like a lot of water. Oops. With a secret voice, Kitu's heart sank, and his eyes quickly looked in the direction of Otonashi. Without Chakra's maintenance, the half-released sealing technique stopped instantly. And without the blessing of Chakra, the seal scroll is like waste paper, and it is easily torn by the sound without it. Go on. Seal all these guys. With a loud shout, Kaito knew that this was the most effective way to deal with Lu Chi and the others, and immediately urged everyone. The ninjas started preparing for the sealing technique again without hesitation. Although the sealing technique will be interrupted, it is no problem to use the sealing technique on everyone at the same time. The situation on the battlefield was all recorded and transmitted back to Marine's Central Command Center. Advertisement, seal, female. Hearing the explanation of Kirigakure's working ninja, Suru Vice Admiral frowned. He had long heard of the existence of sealing, but because Kirigakure is not good at sealing, they haven't been able to find an example, and now they finally see it. Record it immediately, send out capable people, and capture all those ninjas who can release the sealing technique. Crane Vice Admiral immediately instructed the staff of the command center. At present, for Marine, sealing techniques are still too unfamiliar. In order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, they must analyze the various sealing techniques of the ninja masters. The best way is to be able to control a group of ninjas who can use sealing techniques, so that they can also make targeted analysis plans. Although the ninja villages in the Land of Fire and the Land of Thunder have been wiped out, it is the Land of Winds that has studied the most sealing techniques. There are only individual ninjas in other countries with super powerful sealing techniques, but they have great restrictions. Only the Land of Wind is devoted to the study of puppet weapons and sealing techniques. I hope His Royal Highness's people don't follow the ninjas of the Wind Kingdom too soon. Taking a deep breath, Crane Vice Admiral murmured silently in his heart. Zephyr next to him didn't feel much. With his strength, there is no need to worry about any sealing technique. Served as the chief instructor of the Marine Academy. He not only teaches the way of training and improvement, but also various practical skills. He can become the chief instructor of Marine Academy and teach countless strong people. With his powerful capture ability, he can clearly understand to capture the core of the opponent's attack or a certain move. Advertisement from the image of the sealing technique just sent back by the videophone bug. He could feel that the so-called sealing technique can only have a great success rate when the opponent is weak, and Zephyr speculates that if the gap between the strengths of the two sides is too large, is likely to have no effect. If it is this level of sealing technique, Zephyr is confident that in the entire ninja world, there are probably not many people whose sealing technique can make him attack. Of course, this was all based on Zephyr's ignorance of the existence of those secret techniques and forbidden technique. Ninjas have seals at the cost of their lives, and the Ghoul seal and the 4-image seal used by Danzo are two of them. On the battlefield at this time, the ninjas are ready to seal again. But the people of CP9 are not fools, and immediately started to launch a violent attack on those ninjas of seal art. I saw Kaku jumped, using and moonwalk alternately rushed into the middle of those ninjas quickly. Good chance. The ninjas were overjoyed. Jungshu couldn't aim the sealing technique at Kaku, but he unexpectedly rushed over, and everyone immediately prepared to use their hands. But Kaku is faster than them. Fengjiao, Zhao Haojiao, is chaotic. I saw Kaku stagnant in the air, his legs swayed rapidly, and arcs of light tore through the gaps, rushing down like a sharp blade. And the seal scrolls released by those ninjas were directly torn to shreds by those light blades. Then those arc-shaped foot blades fell into those ninjas instantly. The light blade released by Tempest Kick is very fast. The ninjas want to avoid it, but the ninjas below are too dense, not to mention the ninjas are using the sealing technique. They can't move at all. Every light and shadow crosses. There must be blood and wine. In the blink of an eye, the ground seemed to have just been plowed, and there were ravines and blood that dipped the ground into a red. Chapter 333, Auto-generated chapter title. The 333rd chapter comes from the killing of the companions. Seeing that dozens of seal ninjas were killed in the blink of an eye, Kitu's eyes turned red. You, damn it! With a loud shout, a layer of soil was instantly attached to Kitu's body, and he quickly rushed towards Jabra in front of him. Kitu is extremely fast in the Land of the Earth. Even if the Land of the Earth is not known for its speed, its strength should not be underestimated. It just rushed in front of Jabra in an instant. Looking at the terracotta that he brought to the door, Jabra's mouth raised, and the wolf's head showed a sneer. Court death. With a low voice, Jabra's sharp wolf claws grabbed towards the terracotta. But Kitu was not afraid at all, because his fist had already landed on Jabra's face. Boom! With a muffled sound, Jabra's face was distorted, and the figure half times taller than ordinary people flew out instantly. Kick! With a muffled sound, Gabu 737 pulled a pit directly on the ground. Seal! With a low voice, Kitu continued to charge towards Kumadori, who was manipulating his hair to attack the surrounding ninjas in the distance. What? Kumadori was stunned when he saw that Jabra was actually knocked down. His eyes narrowed at random, and the manipulator's long snake-like hair instantly turned into sharp spikes and rushed towards the terracotta. However, Kitu did not choose to fight it head-on. Instead, I saw Kitu dodged and entered the ground directly. The thorns formed by Kumadori's hair are sharp, but they can't escape the terracotta. Kumadori felt the ground under his feet soften and just wanted to break free, but on the way, two palms suddenly got out and directly grabbed the feet of the male lion. Advertisement, noisy, bad. Atori's face changed, and it was too late to jump away. The next moment, he only felt a huge force pulling down from his legs. In the blink of an eye, the whole person was pulled into the ground. Immediately afterwards, the land next to it loosened, and terracotta suddenly burst out from it. Kitu ignored the trapped Tori and continued to look for the next target. Finally, his eyes fell on Kaku, who had just killed the ninja. "You are the one." A gleam of hatred radiated from Akashi's eyes. And Kaku seemed to sense something. Finger pistol pierced a ninja in front of him, then looked to the side. The eyes of the two met, instantly erasing the strong spark. For a moment, the two moved. Kaku took the lead, kicked out a huge tempest kick, cut directly to the ground and rushed towards the terracotta, and the ninja in the middle was directly divided into two halves. Seeing this, Kitu's complexion was as gloomy as water. "You wanna die?" With a loud snort, terracotta flew up. But at this time, there was a black shadow attacking from the side, directly interrupting the terracotta rushing towards Kaku in the middle. 6 styles. 6 king guns. Lu Chi's fists were printed on Kitu's chest, AFBD. Ong. The air trembled, and Kitu instantly trembled as if it had suffered a violent impact. Wow. Advertisement. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth, and Kitu's figure flew out upside down. And the blood spurting out of his mouth turned into a blood-colored arc. The terracotta figure flew dozens of meters away, and stopped until it hit a big tree. Kitu's body fell from the big tree and fell heavily on the ground. Although the whole person did not die directly, he was seriously injured and wilted. A ninja rushed over quickly, grabbed Kitu's body and quickly left the place. Glancing at the rushing Lu Chi, the ninja directly hugged the terracotta and drilled into the reef on the side. "Lord Kitu, are you alright?" the ninja called out to Akashi nervously. "I'm fine. Tell Tsuchikage using the chakra communicator, we're trapped." Kitu took a palm-sized communicator out of the tactical pocket with difficulty, and then spoke to the ninja. But the next moment, his eyes widened, and his eyes became incredible. I saw that the face of the ninja in the land changed rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a figure exactly like him. "A chakra communicator? It turns out you used this thing to communicate." The ninja grabbed the communicator and said calmly. "You are not a ninja of the land, who are you?" Kitu widened his eyes, looked at the figure in front of him, and asked in a panic. Because the other party's body, face, voice, and even chakra are exactly the same as him, which shocked Kaito, and at the same time looking at the chakra communicator in the other party's hand, his heart is even tighter. "Marine clone fruit ability, DK-on," the ninja said something calmly. Without waiting for Kaito to speak again, he knocked it out with a palm. Afterwards, people saw the injured terracotta walking out of the reef with his chest and mixed into those ninjas. Immediately afterwards, a slaughter from a companion began to be staged on the battlefield. Chapter 334 Giant Heia Ninja. Not just DK-on imitating outdated abilities. Along with Marine, other abilities have also joined the battlefield. Falcon fruit ability, Jackal fruit ability, Wheel fruit ability, and so on. Akira Yagayu swapped out hundreds of Zone Devil fruit and Paramecia Devil fruit that had never appeared before, and equipped them all for those Marine Commodores. With the bonus of Devil fruit, those Marine generals who used to be only Commodore are now able to fight even against Vice Admiral. Plus they all learn Marine 6 styles. It is natural to deal with those ninjas with ease. It's just that compared to DK-on, the panic caused by those ninja teams is a little worthless. Although DK-on is not the original character of Clone Fruit, his strength should not be underestimated. DK-on, who entered the ninja team, kept using Clone Fruit to contact those ninjas, and then kept changing shapes. In an instant, the murderous aura from his companions made those ninjas panic. Doubtful eyes appeared in the eyes of all ninjas. Because Decathlon, the ultimate imitation master, joined, and kept stabbing the side of the ninja when the ninja released the ninjutsu. This also made the ninjas who were able to cooperate well to release ninjutsu into chaos. The ninjas couldn't match up, which also made their advantages instantly lost, and even those ninjas who were preparing for the sealing technique were not protected. Unlike the battle on land, at this time, the movement at sea was not small at all. The giant army headed by Saren kept attacking those ninjas who were like ants to them. Advertisement, but those sub-ninjas are not afraid of attack at all. Every time they are scattered in the sea, they can reunite, as if they are indestructible monsters. HMPH, they are all a group of ants. Even if they can't kill them, they still need to consume chakra. They can't hurt us anyway. As long as their chakra is exhausted, they will turn into a pool of seawater. Saren looked at the reunited demi-humans and smiled disdainfully. He had just chased a subhuman to attack, and after being broken up a dozen or 2 times, he felt that Na-in had not reunited again, probably because can guess something. However, Saren's voice just fell. Those ninjas in the distance also know that they can't continue to consume like this. The ninjas glanced at each other, nodded, quickly formed a seal, and then pressed their palms into the sea. Buzz. The sea, which was not calm before, suddenly boiled. I saw those Ya-Ren quickly gathered together, and all disappeared into the sea. Immediately afterwards, a bulge the size of a house suddenly rose from the sea. The giants saw that the bulge began to grow rapidly. And after a few breaths, he rose to 50 or 60 meters. Boom. The bulging waves shook suddenly again. Two huge figures more than 50 meters high condensed from seawater emerged from it. Looking at the two huge figures, those giants were not worried at all. Instead, Saren's eyes lit up when he saw the two giants. It turns out that this thing can be combined. Saren couldn't help grinning. Advertisement before dealing with those villains like Duzi, he really didn't do it. Now those Yarens suddenly merged into two sea giants, but they made Saren extremely excited. Seeing the excited appearance of Saren and the surrounding giants, the ninjas of the land of Earth twitched in the corners of their eyes. Zero, ask for flowers, a lunatic, even so excited to face the enemies of immune to death. One of them couldn't help shaking his head and said, I think it's a fool. The giant demi-humans formed by dozens or hundreds of demi-humans are not comparable to those just now. After solving these guys, we will immediately go ashore to support Lord Kitu and the others. Listening to the words of his companions, Elite Jonin, who was the adjutant next to him, sneered. He glanced in the direction of the coast. He found that it was full of various ninjutsu techniques. Zero, in his opinion, what if it was Akira Yagayu's trap? Not only did they touch thousands of ninjas, but even Asian ninja troops were dispatched. Having those ninjas was equivalent to having an undead army. Although those sub-ninjas are immortal, but at this time as if they are immortal, every ninja in the land is full of confidence. Is it? The two Ren who spoke before was stunned for a moment, and also looked towards the coast, and found that the coast Jonin technique was decreasing. Instead the golden light was constantly flickering, and there was a bad premonition in his heart. But at this time, the arrow is already on the string. No matter whether it is good or bad, they have no way out. Giant demi-humans, kill them. The adjutant shouted loudly. The two giants condensed by the huge seawater did not understand the footsteps, but they were like clouds and fog, and they directly drove the waves towards Sarong. Looking at the rushing giant, the joy on Saren's face was even more intense. A huge axe was drawn from his waist. Factory Chapter 335 Giant Finger Pistol toward Peacock. As an adult giant, Saren is also the Vice Admiral of the Marine Giant Corps. He is huge and over 30 meters tall. Facing the giant High-Ya ninja 40 or 50 meters high, Saren was not panic at all. To actually use an axe, does this guy have no means of attack? Seeing that Saren actually took out the axe, the ninjas in the land were a little surprised, and immediately said disdainfully. In their opinion, although the axe that Saren suddenly took out was huge, the attack was probably not as convenient as the arc blade they just kicked out with their feet. Taking out a weapon to attack is really superfluous. Hey guys, you need to stay away. So long kiss. Chi smiled and shouted towards the surrounding giants. When the giants of the giant army heard Saren's words, they were all stunned. But when they saw the giant axe in Sarong's hand, their expressions changed instantly. Without the slightest hesitation, the giants scattered towards the sides or behind Saren, but no one dared to be in front of Saren. No matter how far away, no one dared to let Saren face him. The reaction of those giants also attracted the attention of the Earth ninjas, looking at the giants who hurriedly dispersed, frowning and full of doubts. What's the matter? What are these big guys worried about? The chief adjutant of the native ninja army also frowned, and the reaction of those giants was really strange. Sir, why don't we retreat too? A ninja next to him was a little worried, so he couldn't help asking the adjutant of the Earth ninja. Back off. The adjutant of Wang Ren was stunned, and glanced around. There were giants on both sides, and they had to retreat to the back. Retreat. Advertisement. After hesitating for a while, the adjutant gave an order. After all, those giants have already shown themselves clearly. The other party must be brewing some kind of strong attack, and they are still so close, no doubt they are courting death. Hearing the order, all the ninjas in the land did not hesitate at all, thinking about retreating behind. The ninjas fled to the rear quickly, stamping on a splash of water. At the same time, they heard a loud shout from behind. Hikoku! Sarong shouted violently, like a mad thunder in the sky. Everyone was shocked. The ninjas of the land who were fleeing to the back were even more nervous, and they could hear that this was the voice of the giant leader. Immediately afterwards, a powerful breath came from behind, causing those ninjas who escaped to look back subconsciously. But it's okay not to look at it. This time, everyone stopped. I saw the front of the dragon, and an invisible impact directly smashed the two huge High-Ya ninjas away half of their bodies. And the ninjas also saw that it seemed as if an invisible big ball had appeared, squeezing the relatively calm sea directly to both sides. Seeing that the squeezed seawater was rapidly approaching them, everyone's expressions changed. Hurry up, the lieutenant of the Land Country Ninja Unit exclaimed. But it was too late, because the speed of the invisible impact was obviously far beyond their imagination. The ninjas in the outermost circle watched their companions being torn to shreds invisibly, their scalps tingling, and they wanted to turn around, but before they could escape, they were directly drowned by the impact and disappeared without a trace. After the invisible impact rushed out for a long distance, the seawater returned to the cage, and the seawater on both sides collided to form a huge wave, which quickly chased out the impact. Until it disappeared from everyone's sight, the surrounding giants could feel that the shock hadn't dissipated. Advertisement. Then, the giants turned their attention to the two giant High-Ya ninjas. I saw that the two High-Ya ninjas were rapidly condensing the seawater, as if they were about to reshape their bodies. Hey, is this thing really immortal? Even Hikoku of Elbath can't kill them. The giants took a deep breath when they looked at Haiyan, who was reuniting the body of the sea, and couldn't help but say in awe. They didn't find it, but Saren had already grasped the weakness of these guys. I saw Saren sneered, suddenly raised one leg and used it horizontally towards the front. Huge phoenix feet. An almost crescent-like blue-white arc swept across the two healing Haiya ninjas in an instant, cutting them open. However, because the body was shaped by seawater, the two Haiya Ren were not affected in the slightest. Instead, taking advantage of this breath, he has already reassembled his body. Immediately afterwards, I saw that the two Heian ninjas were still quickly forming the seal. Saren's eyes narrowed. It's now. With a secret thought in his heart, Saren instantly rushed to Haiya Ren, who was 1.3 away from him, and came directly in front of the two Haiya Ren. Giant finger pistol peacock towards. Saren put his middle and index fingers together and stood directly in front of the two giant Heian ninjas. The two hands quickly pierced out. Because of the friction with the air, a hot flame was directly generated and the seawater in front of him evaporated instantly. Saren's fingers pierced Haiya's body, and the seawater in their bodies was quickly evaporated. Then Saren's speed became faster and faster, and in an instant, countless phantoms like flames had formed in front of the two Haiya Ren. Immediately afterwards, the flames quickly drowned the two Heian ninjas. Chapter 336 The Great Crisis. Saren is very big, but it's still a little shorter than the two Iha ninjas. The index fingers of Saren's two hands, the finger pistol, kept piercing the body of Haiya ninja. It was as if the red-hot soldering iron had been thrown into the water and red lights flashed. But the two Heian ninjas were poked out of waterholes. With the super high speed, Saren directly rubs the air to ignite the temperature and the seawater continuously evaporates. It continued for several breaths. In these short breaths, Saren himself did not know how many times he attacked. However, after such a fierce attack by Saren, the two giant Heian ninjas still exist. Although Saren can pierce the body of Heian ninja, it can even evaporate the seawater that makes up the two Heian ninja bodies. However, water is liquid and can flow. As soon as the water vapor comes out, the seawater will immediately cool the air, and quickly fill up the seawater evaporated by Saren 05 rubbing against the air. At this time, the two Iha ninjas did not change in the slightest except that their bodies were smaller than before. Scared, it's just getting smaller, so how long will it take to beat them to death? The marine giant troop in the distance looked at the two Haiya Ren, who were just reminding the smaller ones in front of Saren, and couldn't help asking in shock. But no one could answer, because the ninja troops of the land on the sea were all ground into powder when Saren used his ultimate move just now. However, Saren was already mentally prepared. He knew that these guys were condensed with chakra, and they would not dissipate until the chakra was exhausted. Advertisement. So looking at the two Haiya ninjas who were already not much taller than him at this time, Saren grinned, and after finally finding such two targets, he certainly wouldn't let it go so easily. And at the same time, the two Heian endured so many attacks from Saren. They are also finally ready for their own ninjutsu. Haiya Ninja is a ninja in the land that combines a large number of chakra and seals it in the scroll after special treatment of yin and yang escape. Speaking of which, they are more like ninjutsu, just like the rock giants often used by ninjas in the land. And because of the combination of the yin and yang of Sage of Six Paths, the chakra in the scroll is activated, and the chakra and cells of Senju Hashirama are added to further neutralize it. If in the past, this kind of technology is impossible to appear at all. But the appearance of Akira Yagyu completely broke the balance of the ninja, and the five kingdoms were swept away by three. Sage of Six Paths also had to lend yin-yang dun to the land of Earth to defend against Akira Yagyu's attack. At this time, Sage of Six Paths, who led the ninjas of the land of the Earth to develop the Asian ninja army, was sitting on the ground together with his younger brother Otsutsuki Hamura in a secluded valley. In front of the two, there were 9 jars with runes sealed. Both of them closed their eyes, as if they were waiting for something. In fact, the current Sage of Six Paths is also remorseful. He has noticed Akira Yagyu since the very beginning of Akira Yagyu's power. He never imagined that Akira Yagyu would develop so fast, and even in the end, a woman who could directly cause fatal damage to the soul appeared out of nowhere. But it was too late to repent, and they could only wait for Akira Yagyu and his army to be expelled and suppressed by the people of the two countries. If the two countries can't do it, they can only do it themselves. Advertisement. The two Haiya Ren can't speak, and they themselves are connected with the sea. Ordinary small-scale ninjutsu, they can be released without the need for seals at all. But this time they are also preparing a big move. I saw behind the two Haiya ninjas, suddenly setting off waves hundreds of meters high. The waves formed a huge palm in midair, and shot down directly towards Saren. Saren's body size of tens of meters has become incomparably small compared to the waves that exceed 300 meters. Those who reminded the smaller giants in the distance were all taken aback. An attack of this scale, in the ninja world, can already be said to be a 747 Super S-rank ninjutsu. The waves hundreds of meters high can easily overturn everything on the sea. Even if it rushes to the land, it can absolutely destroy everything in the area of dozens of kilometers in the land. But for those marine giants, it wasn't too much trouble. A tsunami of hundreds of meters sounds and looks terrifying. But for the giants whose minimum reminders are more than 10 or 20 meters, moonwalk can be stepped on with a few feet. However, Saren's face darkened. He knew that the target of this giant tsunami was probably not him at all, and he glanced at the direction of the distant coast, and saw Long's hard tensed. If this wave washed ashore, all the defensive troops that Marine was stationed in would be washed away, and even the sea could wash inland, and I am afraid that countless people would be affected by that time. Everyone is ready to let this tsunami wash up on the shore. Thinking of this, Saren immediately burst out. Chapter 337 Enable the linkage device. At this time that huge tsunami has been generated. A full and hundreds of meters high. People from dozens of kilometers away from the coast can see the huge, blue wall. At the same time, the tsunami was mixed with vibrations, as if it would move the entire land. Violent vibrations spread into the mainland at an extremely fast speed. And the first city, the city closest to the coast, feels very real. Everyone rushed out of the house and came to the heights to look at the huge tsunami rising in the distance. Oh my God, is it the end? The people looked at the tsunami and screamed, and they couldn't believe that the huge tsunami in front of them was real. As people living by the sea, it is not that they have not seen a tsunami. But the tsunami they have seen is only more than 20 meters high, and it is the limit that can rush into the land for several kilometers. But now, their first city is dozens of kilometers away from the coast, and at this time, they can actually see the tsunami coming like a giant peak. Same. The ninjas and marines on the shore were also attracted by the sudden tsunami. This actually activated that thing. The ninjas of the land looked at the tsunami hundreds of meters high and couldn't help but exclaimed. This is their last trump card. It also means that it is a means of perishing together. After at least hundreds of demihumans are combined into giant demihumans, they consume all chakra and release large-scale ninjutsu. Ninjutsu varies from region to region. Advertisement. And this tsunami is Hai-Ya Ren's final move. The two Heian ninjas who released the tsunami had disappeared at this time and merged with the tsunami. Although the ninjas of the land on the coast have already prepared their hearts, they still feel extremely desperate. After all, he had already been slaughtered by Marine in a one-sided manner, and now the friendly forces on the coast have released moves to perish together, which means that their naval forces may be wiped out. They are not afraid of death, but are worried about the land. The thousands of ninjas led by Lois had obviously been wiped out, and even the fake news was deciphered by Marine and passed back. Now, they have brought nearly half ninja in the land. If the whole army is wiped out again, then even if the land is more able to join forces with the land of the wind to suppress Akira Yagyu, I am afraid that the land will be destroyed by the wind for a lifetime. The country is suppressed. Even, the land of the country is very likely to cease to exist. Marine's heart sank when he saw the tsunami that was hundreds of meters high, because it was not something they could resist. You, Shui, you two get out of here. Anger. Seeing the tsunami approaching, Khalifa made a quick move, came directly to the two girls, and said solemnly. They brought Yu and Shui originally to let them practice their skills, but now, the appearance of this tsunami is beyond their control, and it is necessary to reduce Marine's casualties as much as possible. At this time, Yu and Shui were both frightened, although they have also experienced life and death crisis in the mission Lu Qi gave them, but now is the first time to see ninjutsu like a natural disaster. When the two heard Khalifa's words, they shook their heads, and their eyes became firm. No, there are all the troops behind His Highness Yagyu, we can't back down. Snow said solemnly to Khalifa, Mr. Khalifa, you told us that everything we have belongs to His Royal Highness Yagyu. Regardless of life or death, we should dedicate everything to His Highness Yagyu. Now that His Highness Yagyu is not here, we must use actions to ensure His Highness's interests. At this time, Yu also changed the character that escaped before and said to Khalifa. Advertisement. Khalifa's expression sank to Yu and Shui's answer. Bullshit. At this time, Lu Qi rushed over and said to the person with a displeased expression. He could see that the two of them were indeed prepared to die, but in his opinion, these were all fearless sacrifices. You two get out of here immediately. At our Marine's base, it's your turn to die. At this time, Jabra also leaned over and said to the two girls with a grin. They are both the teachers of the two girls. They have seen the growth of the two little girls with their own eyes. Their future achievements will definitely surpass any of them, and it is not necessarily even comparable to Admiral. Naturally, they will not let Yu and Shui fail early. It's here. At this time, Marine's giant army is also racing against the tsunami. They once fought against tsunamis and used Hokage collectively to disperse the tsunami, Jiao Ma Jiao. However, it is difficult for them to effectively prevent tsunami intrusion on the sea surface. Saren must bring people back to land as soon as possible. This time, however, the tsunami was not caused by an explosion. Hundreds of people comparable to John and Chakra merged into the tsunami, and the tsunami caused by the urge was far beyond their imagination. Even if they were able to rush to the land, the tsunami would not give them a chance to release Hikoku. For a time, everyone was extremely nervous. In the Marine Central Command Center, everyone held their breath. Looking at the influence of the videophone bug, Vice Admiral's expression was calm. Paused, then murmured, Enable linkage. Chapter 338 Marine's Big Killer. Crane. Vice Admiral's voice was not loud, but he was full of energy, and it clearly spread throughout the entire Central Command Center. The linkage? Is this going to start that thing? Hearing Vice Admiral's words, the staff present were stunned for a moment, then all their expressions changed, and they looked at Vice Admiral He and asked in astonishment. Linkage transfer can already be said to be Marine's ultimate defense on the coast. Moreover, the linkage was only deployed after the last ninja army invasion. Although the small linkage has been tested, the large linkage has just been deployed and has not been tested. If it does not work, it is very likely that it is true. The tsunami washed ashore. Are you going to use that thing? Although I have to admit that once the thing is completed, its power is absolutely unparalleled. However, you should be very clear that that thing is still in the final stage of research and development. If it is not controlled well, its power will be enough to tear the Earth apart. At that time, I am afraid that all our defensive troops stationed on the coast will be damaged there. Next to 750 Zephyr frowned, looking at the back of Crane Vice Admiral and couldn't help asking. He knew the linkage, it was something that Marine's scientific research team and Kirigakure Ninja's research team came up with. That kind of thing, even he doesn't want to face it. I just took this test. If you don't have to take things, I'm afraid it will be difficult for the defense forces on the coast to survive the tsunami. It's better to have a look. Crane Vice Admiral looked solemn, and she had already thought carefully when she made this decision. Alright. Looking at Vice Admiral Crane's serious look, Zephyr knew that Vice Admiral Crane was confirmed. He didn't say anything, just nodded. And those Marine staff confirmed the order and acted immediately. Next moment, suddenly the coast trembled. Immediately afterwards, a huge, AFBD, black building rose from the ground. Advertisement in the end, it rose more than 30 meters high. A total of 11 buildings. They stood side by side in a row, like 11 black giants, facing a giant tsunami that was 10 times as high as them. What's this? Looking at the black building that suddenly appeared, those ninjas who were in despair were stunned for a moment, and their faces were a little strange. But don't talk about them, even Marine is equally curious. The linkage is carried out in secret. Even when the giant linkage was built on the coast, not many people knew the secret of the linkage. Now, when the linkage device is activated, everyone is looking at it with a puzzled expression. Are these guys trying to stop the tsunami? How does this thing work? There are also people who understand. Looking at the building that suddenly rises at this time, under a stunned mind, he has already vaguely guessed what Marine wants to do. Meanwhile, in Marine College. At this time the learning center of Marine College. After all, this time is a large-scale invasion of ninjas. Such battles are rare, and naturally it has become the moment for the Marine Academy to experience the real brutal battlefield. And Tsunade is also in it, and as the instructor of physical and healing arts at the Marine Academy, although he has just arrived. The murderous name has already resounded throughout the Marine Academy. And the monster that was sent back by the repellent was only the size of a normal human at this time, and was being trampled underfoot by Tsunade. The monster felt extremely ashamed and kept trying to struggle. Advertisement: if you dare to move again, I will throw you to Orochimaru and they will take it for slicing research. Feeling the movement under his feet, Tsunade's eyes jumped, and he said frostily behind him. Although Tsunade was a woman, the words made one's scalp tingle, and when the students below heard Orochimaru's name one by one, they sat up nervously. And the monster under the hands and feet was stunned. Orochimaru. The monster murmured subconsciously, and flashed in his mind a man with a cold and gloomy face like Lion Majesty that he saw when he first came here. As that, yes, he has long wanted to take you back to study. Knowing that the B********** D had already guessed who Orochimaru was, Tsunade nodded directly and said something lightly. But I have to say, Tsunade's words do work. When the monster heard that Orochimaru was the man, it stopped moving. Although he has only seen that guy once, he has a feeling that Lion Majesty is staring at him, as if he is the prey of Lion Majesty, and if he has the chance, the other party will definitely bring him back to torture him. Damn, the people under Akira Yagyu are crazy. After a Cold War, the monster secretly said nervously. It's okay to face those strong people before, but Akira Yagyu, who is considered by those ninjas to be a vase, is also powerful and terrifying. And now, he's been staying at Marine Base. I thought that there shouldn't be too many strong people, but I didn't expect there are so many perverts. That purple-haired guy, and now this big-chested and mindless woman, and Lion Majesty called Orochimaru. Now imagine that the monster's heart can't help but shiver. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 339: The Natural Disaster Grade Ninjutsu of the Linkage Device. Finally got home. After 2 days of tossing, I will make up for the previous few days. Seeing that the monster stopped moving, Tsunade also continued to look at the projection sent by the videophone bug. It has been washed by Crane Vice Admiral Devil Fruit itself. Combined with a month of control of the system through the Marine Academy, Tsunade has become absolutely loyal to Akira Yagyu. However, although she was brainwashed, it does not mean that Tsunade has become a person who doesn't care about anything. Although she has been in Marine for a long time, she is still in Marine Academy most of the time, so I am very concerned about the few people who suddenly appeared in this projection. Strange giant tower, she is also full of curiosity. At this time, the linkage has completely risen from the ground, and chakra is still gathering quickly above. At the same time, the coast to the east of the film began to shake. Immediately afterwards, a huge wall rose from the ground in the vibration, and then a finger quickly, as if to completely separate the continent from the sponge. What is this? Feeling the huge chakra released by those towers, the expressions of the ninjas present change, and they exclaimed in shock. They could feel that the aura of that huge wall was a super large ninjutsu. However, they have never seen such a great ninjutsu. At least the Earth-style ninjutsu released simultaneously by thousands of ninjas can achieve this. Looking at the huge Earth-style fence that was hundreds of meters high, the ninja of a land of Earth turned pale, took a deep breath, and said with a trembling tone. Thousands of ninjas, for the 5 major countries, are able to take it. And the 5 countries also have joint ninjutsu that requires many ninjas to release together. However, that kind of ninjutsu can only be released by hundreds of people at most. The ninjutsu released on a scale of thousands of people, once a few people make mistakes, the ninjutsu is likely to fail, and it may even cause harm to oneself. Advertisement therefore, seeing such a scale of ninjutsu, all ninjas felt extremely horrified. Even Tsunade's eyes widened as he stared at the image in front of him in disbelief. She also sighed in her heart that Akira Yagiyu's army was developing so fast that it was almost unimaginable to the 5 countries. Even looking at the current situation, Akira Yagiyu has occupied 3 of the 5 major countries, and the remaining 2 may not be eligible to compete with Akira Yagiyu at all. But thinking of Sage of 6 Paths, Tsunade's heart moved, and it was not too early to draw conclusions. She had learned from Dakatsuyu, she more or less knew the existence of the legendary 2 who saved the ninja world, but that was 1,000 years ago. No one was sure if Sage of 6 Paths was still alive, but Marine's men were making preparations as if they had seen each other. At this time, she can also be sure that Sage of 6 Paths must still exist, but it may be in another world, and Tsunade guessed that Sage of 6 Paths is indispensable for the sub-ninja troops summoned by ninjas in the land of the land. Shadow. Without the support of Sage of 6 Paths, she reckoned that the land of Earth would not have the ability to create such a large-scale undead ninja. Seeing the appearance of the huge earth wall, the expressions of those giants who were rushing towards the coast changed. It's a linkage, we spread out and dodge from the side. Just when the earth wall was raised, Saren noticed those towers, so he knew what it was, and immediately shouted, leading the giant troops around him to spread out to both sides. He knew that the linkage was activated, indicating that Marine had taken precautions, and Marine base must have known the situation here, so they didn't need them to resist these tsunamis. 0. Ask for flowers. Although a little unwilling, Saren did not dare to joke about the lives of so many Marines on land. At the same time, the ninja's voice just now finally fell. Don't wait for the other ninjas to speak. A huge tsunami has been pressed over. Advertisement, boom. The earth began to vibrate, and the powerful breath almost pressed on the top of the person's head. This is the sound of the tsunami colliding with the earth wall with a roar. The huge roaring sound made the scalp numb, and even the head was a little foggy. 0. Of course, it's not just these ninjas. Even Marine's people were taken aback. That sound, even they were not prepared. However, Marine's physical fitness is generally good, so it is not too affected. On the earth wall, due to the impact of the tsunami, the earth and gravel were continuously shaken off, but it did not affect the overall defense. The tsunami slammed violently on the earth wall, making the ninja behind him tremble. But it didn't last long, and the blocked seawater quickly retreated. The ninjas who had experienced such a large-scale tsunami and ninjutsu immediately breathed a sigh of relief. They found that their backs had been soaked, but no one cared about this at this time, and they all felt the joy of the rest of their lives in their hearts. However, on this side, the Marines have already surrounded them, the crisis is lifted, and the next step is to clean up these ninjas. Surrender, we surrender, there is no need to fight anymore. At this time, Kitu came out and said loudly to the ninjas, his face was full of unwillingness, but he was helpless. This is not real terracotta, but imitated by the clone fruit ability in Marine. The real terracotta has died in the reef factory. Chapter 340 Shunjo arrives. As soon as the terracotta appeared, he immediately announced his surrender. This made those ninjas in the land of the land who wanted to fight to the death suddenly suffered a big blow, and the belief in their hearts suddenly shattered. Kaitu, how can you surrender? There were also some ninjas who glared at the terracotta. They are all ninjas who are extremely loyal to the village and the land of the earth. In their opinion, Kitu's performance today has completely failed the village's expectations. But just after the ninja finished speaking, Blueno suddenly appeared behind the ninja. Under the astonished gazes of the surrounding ninjas, Blueno stretched out his hands and grabbed the ninja's head. 750. What? At the moment when Blueno moved, the ninja immediately noticed and exclaimed in his heart. But it's too late. Before he could react, Blueno grabbed the ninja's throat from behind. Crack. A crisp sound. The ninja died on the spot, his eyes widened, and he never thought that he would be terminated in this way. But it's not over yet. Blueno directly returned to the door space of the door fruit, in another space, waiting for the opportunity to find the next prey. A ninja's face sank and he stood up directly, but before the ninja could speak, Blueno appeared directly and used the finger pistol to pierce the ninja's head. Advertisement this time, the scene suddenly quieted down, and no one dared to refute Kitu's decision. The tsunami has been subdued, and their Asian ninja troops have just been blocked outside the wall and submerged in the tsunami. Now they face those Marines like lambs to be slaughtered. Even though there are still people who are dissatisfied, they don't dare to show the slightest. After all, if anyone came forward at this time, not to mention whether it was useful or not, he would definitely die. Obviously, under the oppression of the form, no one dared to say another word. In the end, it was led by Terracotta. The ninjas were quickly captured by the Marines. The battle is over at the naval headquarters in Akira Yagayu. And on the southern coast of the Fire Nation, another battle is about to begin. Virgo and Golden Lion, with a Marine fleet, did not intend to hide their whereabouts at all. Instead, as if they were afraid that others would not notice them, they directly made a big fanfare and pressed toward the sea in the south. On the sea, a team of reconnaissance ninjas quickly moved towards the distance, stuck to the outer wall of the ship, and quickly rushed to the deck. Report to Master Fengying, the other party is less than 100 miles away from us and may attack us at any time. Those ninjas came to the deck, and immediately reported seriously to Luo Sha, who was watching the front above the deck. The ninja troops of the Land of Winds had been waiting on the sea early, waiting for Akira Yagayu's army. While they were watching from the outside, Akira Yagayu's marine came over with such a big fanfare that they also felt different. Can you be sure who the opponent is leading the team? Nodding, Luo Sha suddenly asked again. Advertisement. Hearing Luo Sha's question, the ninjas next to him were stunned for a moment, then glanced at each other, and finally the reconnaissance ninja headed at Luo Sha helplessly. Sorry, the other party's perception range is much larger than ours, and we can't get close. The ninja reluctantly reported to Luo Shawi. They have not been idle during this period of time. Regarding the detection range of Akira Yagayu, they also have an estimate. Although it is not very accurate, it is certain that the perception range of the other party is far beyond what their detection ninja can do, compared to zero. So they don't dare to take risks. Once they get close, the other party will find them first, and if they don't say anything else, the other party is likely to be alert. The order is to go on and let everyone enter the first level alert state. Nodding, Luo Sha understood what these scout ninjas were afraid of. At present, as the Land of Wind and Land, ninjas are already one of the few living forces, and he does not want to lose too much. What's more, he also intends to use these powers to compete with the Land of the Land for the hegemony of the ninja world in the future. So he also doesn't want to waste it. Soon, Virgo and Shiki came to the front of the ninja troops first. They were not on a marine warship. Instead, the two of them ride together on the Shunjo motto that Akira Yagayu gave to Virgo. Virgo, who is a thunderfruit capable, can exert more powerful power if combined with Shunjo's motto. At least Shunjo proverbs can release a large number of thunderclouds, providing Virgo with a steady stream of thunder 1.3 electricity for him to drive. Although he doesn't need a proverb, Virgo can also release the Thunder God state and Lei Ying's destructive moves. But Proverbs itself is a divine boat specially built by Enel for his own abilities in the original book, and it is no exaggeration to say that it is a perfect match for Virgo now. With the blessing of Proverbs, Virgo can condense the thunder that is needed for magnifying moves in a shorter time. Proverbs can continuously provide Virgo with thunder and lightning in battle, and Virgo with thunder and lightning can stand in a position of strength. This is where Thunder Fruit is scary. Chapter 341 Sealing. The sea moves slowly. At this time, Virgo and Shiki, the Golden Lion, had also dispatched the fleets of the Land of Winds. It seems that these guys are the enemy. It seems that they are not stupid, they actually know how to fight against us at sea. Looking at the fleet below, Shiki grinned while biting the half-burned Golden Lion. Shiki the Golden Lion said it very easily. He knew very well that those who were incapable of swimming. Obviously, the other party should have already caught their weaknesses, but judging from the tone and expression of Golden Lion, there was no such thing as the slightest. Worried, but still looked down with interest. I feel that those people should have come well prepared, waiting for us on purpose. I'm afraid there will be some conspiracy. Although Virgo is wearing sunglasses, he can also see the ninja fleet below clearly. He couldn't help frowning and said. His observation haki is not weak in the original 05, but after using Thunderfruit, he found that his own observation haki has been greatly increased. On the wet sea, he can pass through the electrostatic particles in the air, easily capture movements in a radius of more than 10 kilometers. Naturally, he also sensed those who were investigating the ninjas before, but because of the Golden Lion's obstruction, he did not take action to kill those ninjas. Otherwise, it is impossible for these ninja troops to know the exact time of their arrival. But the ghost was worried, but there was still a flash of war in Virgo's eyes. I don't know if he stayed under Akira Yagayu's hands for a long time and was influenced by Akira Yagayu. At this time, the people under Akira Yagayu's hands, except Kizaru and Bigmom, are all main fighting factions, and each of them can't wait to kill those ninjas' lair immediately, completely disregarding whether those ninjas will have any killer copper. As far as the current Virgo is concerned, worry is a matter of time, but it will not affect his idea of destroying the ninja troops below. There are two very strong people below, and their auras are a little familiar. If I guessed correctly, they should be the wind shadow of the Land of Wind and the Land of the Land Tsuchikage. Advertisement. After a pause, Virgo suddenly said that when he was at Marine Base, he had sensed the breath of two people at the Ninja World Martial Arts Conference, so he could clearly distinguish the breath of the two people from the fleets below. Although Virgo has not yet been certified as a Marine Admiral, but with his own strength and the strengthening after Thunderfruit and 8 inner gates, he has been able to crush any vice admiral steadily, and it is more than enough to fight against the shadows of those villages. And if it can release the state of Thor and the final skill Lei Ying, I am afraid no one can resist his attack. Originally, Virgo had already planned to gather Lei Yin and Lei Ying directly on the coast, waiting for these ninja troops, but these guys did not move forward, which made his original idea come to an end. Hey, I thought you were trying to persuade me. The Golden Lion Shiki immediately grinned when he heard Virgo's reminder. Virgo's words reminded that it was obvious that he was ready to fight. Knowing what Virgo meant, Shiki was naturally unambiguous, and Ma Shan drew his weapon. And at the same time, the ninja troops below have naturally discovered the Shunjo motto where Virgo and the Golden Lion Shiki are located. At this moment, a ninja with an earthy gray face came to 4th Kage Luo Sha's side. The ninja hadn't spoken yet, but Luo Sha was the first to speak. Prepare for sealing. Without the slightest hesitation and procrastination, Luo Sha gave the order directly. Advertisement and the ninja didn't stop and quickly backed away. Immediately afterwards, Luo Sha's order was conveyed to the ears of every ninja. The ninjas on the deck began to seal quickly, and their fingers flashed continuously, bringing with them afterimages. If you look down, you can find that there are hundreds of ninjas on each ship driving chakra madly. And Sharingan's abilities can clearly see that the seawater under the ninjas is full of chakra, and even those chakras have formed a large tablecloth-like shape under the Shunjo motto. Report to Kage-sama, your people are ready. Just now, the ninja with the face in his face appeared again, and he just screamed, and Inomu suddenly appeared next to him, and said something to Luo Sha's back. Hearing Oyumu's voice, Luo Sha's eyes narrowed, staring at the oval spaceship in the distance. I didn't know how to determine your location, but now you are courting death yourself. Luo Sha murmured inwardly. Immediately afterwards, Luo Sha took a deep breath, suppressed the joy in her heart, turned her head and glanced at Oyemu who was watching a play. Her eyes fluctuated slightly, but it quickly disappeared. Activate, Sea moves slowly. Chapter 342 Soaring Sea Currents. With Luo Sha's order, the ninjas of the country of the upper wind of the ship moved quickly. Compared to the land ninja troops that went to attack the Akira Yagayu marine base, these ninjas from the Land of Winds are obviously more skilled. Even, as if he had already practiced countless times, he was able to quickly seal the seal. After all, Luo Sha is the one who has the most contact with Akira Yagayu among the 5 countries. And it is called the strongest one of the previous Fengying. Whether it is its mind or strength, it is absolutely not to be underestimated. And he was able to confront Akira Yagayu head-on without resorting to the yin and yang of Sage of 6 Paths, and even thought that he would be able to step on the land together in the future. Naturally, he had enough planning and strength. For a long time, the Land of Wind has rarely participated in the battles of the 5 great powers. Compared with other major countries, although the Land of Wind is vast. But the land is extremely barren, and even more than 90% of the area is covered by yellow sand. While the other major countries were all gearing up to stare at other countries, only the Land of Wind was still thinking about how to survive in such a harsh environment. During the first 5 Shadows talk, First Hokage sold the 9-tailed beasts to various countries, but they reluctantly bought one tail from First Hokage by virtue of the name and prestige of the Land of Wind. It can even be said that before Second Kage, the financial situation of the Land of Winds was even worse than that of some small countries. However, the financial situation during the second generation Third Kage period is still not optimistic. After he came to power, he relied on the sand gold to make the Land of Wind even stronger. It can be said that among the wind shadows of the Land of Winds of all dynasties, based on this alone, Luo Sha can already be regarded as the strongest among the wind shadows of all dynasties. Seeing that all the ninjas in the Land of Winds were preparing for ninjutsu in an orderly manner, Luo Sha nodded with satisfaction, and then glanced at Onobi on the side, but smiled without saying a word. Advertisement: when Akira Yagayu did not rise in the first place, the 2 countries were definitely brothers in trouble. And now, the 3 strongest countries have been devoured by Akira Yagayu's forces one after another. But they can compete with Akira Yagayu by relying on the ninja legacy of those 3 great powers. It can even complete a unity that has never been seen in the entire ninja world for thousands of years. In fact, each generation has its own peace in mind. It's just that some people think that unity is peace, and some people think that strength is peace. Everyone thinks differently. Yagayu's idea is very similar to most of the shadows. They hope to unify the ninja world. In this way, there will be no wars, the ninjas and their families can live well, and even the ninjas will no longer be in the hands of those big names. Blade. The appearance of Akira Yagayu made this reverie become a reality. It may have taken hundreds or even thousands of years to work hard to achieve the result. Obviously, it was quickly put on the agenda because of the appearance of Akira Yagayu. If Akira Yagayu is really suppressed by the 2 countries, things are definitely not going the way Sage of 6 Paths and the 2 brothers thought. And Luo Sha and Oyemu, the 2 of them, are others. As long as any one of them is powerful, who will be the next Akira Yagayu? At this moment, the ninjas of the ninjas are all ready. The ninjas of the Land of Wind seem to have been waiting for this day for a long time, and everyone is full of energy. Advertisement: I saw the sea surface shaking, and then, Onobi saw that in front of those ships, the seawater was like smooth tofu cut into a cylindrical shape, rising rapidly. As soon as the cylindrical water column appeared, it quickly lifted into the air and charged directly towards the Shunjo Mato where Virgo and the others were located directly above. Boom! With a roar, Shunjo Mato was directly submerged by the sea. Hi! Lifting his head and looking at the direction of Shunjo's proverbs, Oyamu's eyes widened, and he couldn't help taking a deep breath. Although the distance is very far, and Virgo and the others are above, Dayemu can still measure the length of the Shunjo proverb to be hundreds of meters. And now, the over 100-meter-long Shunjo Mato was completely wrapped into the huge water column, which surprised Oyemu. Because the water column was obviously aggressive just now, but I didn't expect it to have no impact at all. It just submerged the huge spaceship and didn't blow it away, Zhao Li Zhao. Thinking of this, Onogi was a little puzzled. He didn't understand why Luo Sha would do this. The water column could clearly release a powerful impact and directly smash the spaceship into pieces. But Luo Sha just used the seawater to imprison the spaceship, which seemed to be a bit unnecessary. Glancing at Oyemu again, Luo Sha knew what this guy was wondering. He knew that the strong men of Akira Yagyu should not be able to swim, and even in the sea, those guys couldn't exert their due strength at all, so, when he was not sure whether he could kill the opponent directly, he would rather use this foolproof method as guaranteed to subdue Akira Yagyu's minions. Chapter 343 The Strong, the Country of Wind comes prepared. I have to say that Akira Yagyu would be amazed by Luo Sha's tactical use here. The soaring ocean current instantly covered the entire Shunjo proverbs, which also surprised Virgo and Golden Lion Shiki on the proverbs. It seems that these guys came prepared, Virgo said lightly. At this time, the soaring ocean current is about to pour in. Listening to Virgo's words, Shiki, the Golden Lion next to him, grinned. Using seawater to deal with capable people, it seems that those guys are not stupid. However, seawater can deal with ordinary capable people. I am Shiki, the Golden Lion under His Royal Highness. Golden Lion said with a disdainful expression. Although facing the turbulent seawater, he did not have the slightest worry. Seawater is indeed capable of dealing with ordinary people. But that was only limited to ordinary abilities. If he wanted to deal with an existence like the Golden Lion, it was obviously impractical. People like them already have enough methods to block the seawater and keep the seawater from getting close to their body. Are you making a move? Glancing at Golden Lion, Virgo's expression remained unmoved, but he just asked unhurriedly. Nonsense. Advertisement Shiki didn't say anything more. He gave a low drink, his figure flashed, and two huge sword waves flew out instantly. Two huge sword waves directly tore the air, and crossed each other to form an X pattern that directly broke through the sky-high current and directly broke through the seawater. Immediately afterwards, Virgo did not hesitate, directly driving the Shunjo Mato, and quickly rushed towards the fault cut by Shiki. And the seawater that Shiki's sword wave had just broken through was also poured into raindrops in the air, and it fell down one after another. Virgo and Shiki were standing on the deck, and there seemed to be a wave of air on their bodies, which directly evaporated the raindrops of seawater that fell in the air into mist. In this way, the two of them swayed down under the eyes of the ninja allied forces in the Land of Wind. Luo Sha, your move doesn't seem to be of any use to others. Seeing this, Onogi next to him was also a little surprised, and immediately said with a smile. Luo Sha's tactics really surprised him just now. He was really afraid that Luo Sha's footsteps would be too fast, and he would take down Akira Yagyu's army before them. Now, the soaring sea current that Luo Sha prepared not only failed to take down the opponent, but instead made the opponent rush in front of them with such a swagger, which made him suddenly amuse. Although the Shunjo Mato where Virgo and the others are located has approached, he is not too worried. According to the usual combat experience, these people are just here to test their strength and determination. After all, there are so many people here, and the other party has only brought a few warships. Even if they use human sea tactics, they are confident that they can completely defeat the other party. This, Onogi's words, AFBD, were slightly harsh, which made Luo Sha's complexion change. Advertisement however, Luo Sha did not explain. He was naturally prepared to come over to attack Akira Yagyu's army. The opponent's ability to break through the slow sea movement they released so easily surprised him, but he didn't think about it. This has happened. Luo Sha immediately waved his hand, and saw a ninja wearing a gray square mask emerge from the side. Use a city-breaking weapon. Without waiting for the ninja to speak, Luo Sha gave a direct command. The ninja quickly retreated without any hesitation. The two countries of Fengtu have been joined by ninjas from all over the world, and the country of the land has been strongly supported by the brothers of Sage of Six Paths. Although Luo Sha did not have the support of Yin Yang Dun, most of the ninjas in the entire ninja world flowed into the country of wind. Relying on the advantages of the dragon veins, they not only separated the country of fire from the country of wind with seawater and reefs, but also gradually transformed the living area of the country of wind. Although the country of wind at this time is still not as rich as the country of fire, it is already many times better than the barren and bad before. What's more, they didn't really plan to stay in the desert of the land of wind for a lifetime. As long as they defeated Akira Yagyu, they could successfully take over the rich land of the land of fire. It doesn't matter if you give it to the land of the land. The Fire Nation can check and balance the other four major countries with the strength of one country, and its resources are definitely not bragging. After all, not only is the land fertile, but the country of fire has the largest population among the 5 kingdoms, and even the population is 2 or 3 times that of the country of water, which is why the country of fire kept testing Akira Yagyu back then. After all, at the beginning, everyone felt that the Fire Nation definitely had the capital to suppress anyone who did not obey them. However, not only Konoha, the land of fire, did not expect, but even the whole world did not expect that the sudden rise of Akira Yagyu's side would be such a tough bone. Chapter 344 Konoha Relics, Shadow Clone Technique. Hearing that Luo Sha is finally ready to use a city-breaking weapon. Next to 3rd Tsuchikage Onogi finally showed a serious expression this time. According to his qualifications and age, he can definitely be regarded as Luo Sha's predecessor. However, he will not come to little guy Luosha in terms of age. Being able to become the shadow of a village is enough to prove his strength and ability to control the overall situation. Onogi always felt that he could underestimate anyone, but he would not underestimate a shadow like him. The city-breaking weapons were the same as those used by the ninjas of the Land of Winds when Akira Yagyu performed the last surgery of immortality. In fact, they sealed the highly concentrated chakra with sharp destructive power in the ninjutsu scroll for compression sealing. Once released, it can crush a city to the ground. In this world of Hokage ninjas, the scale of the city is large and small, but the city is extremely huge, and the population living in it is comparable to any village in the 5 major countries, such as the trading fortress like Tiandufu in Hongzhou Island. The resident population inside can exceed 500,000. It is possible to say that it is possible to move a group of top ninjas, but it requires an extremely large chakra and a long preparation time. This city-breaking weapon developed by the Land of Wind can be released instantly. If it wasn't that Virgo had already discovered the movements of those ninjas in advance, and those ninjas had not determined the location of Akira Yagyu's Sky Island at that time, I am afraid that the power of a city-breaking weapon would have really affected Akira Yagyu's ageless surgery. Influence. Following Luo Sha's order, dozens of people prepared ninjutsu scrolls of city-breaking weapons. If each scroll explodes in the center, it can raise any village in the 5 countries to the ground. But now, in order to deal with the powerhouses under Akira Yagyu, Luo Sha actually used so many city-breaking weapons directly. Seeing those ninjas starting to launch the scrolls one by one, Onogi stared at those ninjas. Advertisement. When Luo Sha was studying these scrolls, he didn't hide it from them. He had seen Luo Sha's experiments before, but this time he was really involved in the battle. Although they had Asian ninja troops, he was not sure about the I can't bear to talk about the strength and weakness of this broken city-level weapon. The moment when those ninjas were ready to use their domain-breaking weapons. Virgo also spotted the movements of those ninjas. With the super strong observation haki, and the source of chakra has been integrated into Virgo's body, he can even clearly feel the fluctuation of chakra. So he immediately noticed the traces of chakra fluctuations leaking from the seals of the scrolls in the hands of the ninjas. That fluctuation, even if it made him feel the pressure. Be careful, I remember that those guys used that thing before, and almost scattered all the thunderclouds I prepared. This time the other party has prepared so much, I am afraid that the power is no worse than the attack of the Pluton battleship. Taking a deep look at the bottom, Virgo said to Shiki, the golden lion next to him, with a solemn expression. He was ordered by Akira Yagyu to cooperate with Shiki in the crusade against these enemies, and he did not want to be affected by Shiki's arrogance. Don't worry, the old man is not a 3-year-old child, there are some things that the old man can distinguish clearly. Shiki rolled his eyes and said with a smile on his face. However, in his heart, he was also a little dignified. After all, Virgo mentioned the Pluton battleship just now. 0. Ask for flowers. Although he thinks that he is extremely powerful, his defense is still far behind that of Big Mom. Facing the bombardment of the Pluton battleship, he knows that he can't stop it at all. But now, Virgo suddenly compared the scrolls in the hands of those ninjas with the attack of the Pluton battleship, which made him have to be on guard in his heart. Even if it is not comparable to the attack of the Pluton battleship, but Virgo said so, I am afraid it will not be too bad. Advertisement. Let's do it first. After a pause, the golden lion Shiki murmured, and the figure rushed out instantly. Point 0. The next moment, I saw a figure flashing rapidly in the air, and in the blink of an eye, it came to the front of the ninja battle formation. What? 2 sword waves shot out quickly, rushing directly towards the crowd of ninja troops. Those ninjas were still gathering chakra as if they didn't see the attack. Quit. Following the blessing. 2. Dao Pokong sounded, and the 2 sword waves that ripped through the air penetrated directly from the bodies of those ninjas. The next moment, those ninjas all turned into white smoke. Obviously, those ninjas were not real. Is it an illusion? You are actually with me? Looking at the ninjas who turned into smoke, Onogi's pupils shrank, and he let out an angry cry. However, Luo Sha in front shook his head. It's shadow clone technique, brought by the remnants of Konoha's ninjas. The other party has a kind of perception technique of their own. If they don't use shadow clone, I'm afraid they really can't deceive them. Luo Sha raised her head and looked up, and explained to Oyemu unhurriedly, Factory. Chapter 345 Ninja Research Results vs Shiki. Seeing that the ninjas he attacked all turned into smoke, Shiki naturally understood for the first time that he had been deceived. Damn, you guys. Shiki felt as if he was a donkey being teased, and he couldn't help yelling loudly. On the contrary, Virgo, who was behind, frowned slightly, and felt that the clone technique used by those ninjas seemed to be different from the clone technique used by those ninjas in Kirigakure. The avatars of these guys can't even distinguish observation haki. It seems that it is not a simple clone technique. With a whisper, Virgo looked a little curious at those ninjas. Seeing 763 haki can perceive each other according to the life fluctuations in people, while observation haki can't distinguish the clones of these guys. It only means that the clones of these guys are actually part of their body, with them also contains the breath of life. The clone technique, which was able to deceive observation haki's investigation, seems to have to bring the news here to His Highness. With a low voice, Virgo looked at the ninjas, and made up his mind to leave a few alive and send them back to Marine Base for those people to develop countermeasures against these clone techniques. Marine has a strong scientific research ability, so naturally he must master all external factors in his own hands, even the ninjutsu in the opponent's hands. He must have complete control and a systematic solution. And at the same time, on the sea on the side of Shunjo Proverbs, several silver lights suddenly rushed out. I saw a trail of unknown objects with blue light tails rapidly shooting towards Shunjo Zanyan. Is this the opponent's attack? Looking at those things, Shiki's expression froze, and he murmured, but there was a hint of war in his eyes. Seeing those blue lights, Virgo did not speak, but he had already taken the initiative to enter the state of elementalization. Advertisement elementalization is immune to armament haki and attacks other than Seastone in the world of One Piece. And in this world of ninjas, apart from being able to evade the soul, I am afraid there is nothing that can hurt Virgo. However, Virgo can directly enter the elementalization. Shiki is not the ability person of the elemental system. He cannot enter the elementalization. In addition to evading, he can only take it hard. Seeing the attack from a distance that was rushing fast, tearing the air, and even the sound barrier, Shiki clenched his hands tightly. Woo, hey! 2 white marks swept across, and 2 huge sword waves flew out from the blade. The 2 sword waves were like 2 long dragons, rushing directly into the incoming attacks. Boom! Boom! The sword wave was like a substance. After hitting the high concentration compressed chakra released by the ninjas with the scroll, it instantly detonated it. In an instant, a series of explosions burst into various colors of light. The constantly flickering light directly illuminates the sky and the sea as if it were doomsday. Although the explosion was in midair, Onogi below and the ninjas from the land of Earth that he brought with him were all horrified. Those explosions looked gorgeous, and their power was also not weak. Even Oyemu had a feeling that, as Luo Sha said at the beginning, each of these city-breaking weapons could easily turn a city into powder. Just at this moment, the impact of the explosion also washed over. Advertisement: the seawater that had been churning because of the sky-high current just now suddenly became quiet. Looking at the sea surface carefully, the seawater is like tofu being squeezed by some invisible force, and it cannot be moved at all. Even with the naked eye, you can see that the seawater is depressed by that invisible force. As if a strong storm was blowing from midair, the seawater that had just been squeezed was immediately released. The seawater, which had just calmed down for a moment, surged even more violently, even stirring up waves that were hundreds of meters high. And the impact in the air also affected the warships of the Wind Nation below. No matter how the helmsman stabilized the rudder, the strong impact coupled with the surging seawater made those hundreds of meters long ships like small boats, unable to resist at all. However, the ninjas of the Land of Winds seemed to have long expected such a situation to happen, and the ninjas on each ship working overtime quickly formed their seals. Water-style Shisui. As the ninjas poured chakra into the sea, the surging sea instantly calmed down. The ninjas of the land who were rolled up in 1.31 by 1 can be considered to stop. Seeing that even such a situation had been calculated by Luo Sha, Oyemu couldn't help but flash a hint of caution in his eyes. After all, Luo Sha's planning ability was beyond his expectations. He couldn't be sure what he did. Is it not expected that this young fourth cage is also in front of him? If this guy really counted at all, then this guy might be an even scarier enemy than Akira Yagyu. Oyemu took a deep look at Luo Sha's back, and thought to himself, Chapter 346 Powerful Physical Strength. Luo Sha didn't know what Inomu was thinking at this time. At this time, what he cared more about was that Virgo and Shiki, who were drowned by the light of the explosion, and the Shunjo Mato where they were. A series of explosions and the released energy stirred up the seawater in the sea area with a radius of hundreds of kilometers. If the preparations were not made in advance, and a large number of ninjas used ninjutsu to stabilize the seawater near the nation of Windfleet, I am afraid that the stirring waves would be enough to overturn the entire fleet. Despite this, the surging seawater at noon and the constantly rising waves still made the ninjas of the land of the earth feel a palpitation. The sea churned for a long time before it gradually calmed down. And the light in the sky quickly receded. People raised their heads. At this time Shunjo Mato was still suspended in midair, but the front part of Shunjo had been squeezed and deformed by a powerful force. In the first paragraph of Shunjo's Proverbs, there is a blue light group. The reconnaissance ninja below saw it with strong eyesight, and it was a figure formed by lightning. This person is none other than Virgo in an elemental state. In front of Virgo, there is another figure. It is the golden lion Shiki who resisted the blast. Shiki's strength is comparable to the four emperors, and although his body is not as strong as Bigmom and Kaido, he is definitely not weak. At this time, Shiki was completely black, and the robes on his upper body were broken. Advertisement. The whole person looked extremely embarrassed. However, Virgo felt an unprecedented strong fighting spirit from Shiki. This guy won't think that the people below can fight him. Looking at Shiki's back in front, Virgo immediately understood what Shiki was thinking at this time, and couldn't help but secretly murmured in his heart. He knew very well that there were many strong men in Marine, but because of His Highness's explicit order forbidding all-out competition, this also made Marine's group of people have nowhere to use their strength. After all, not everyone is like Bigmom and Kizaru, and they want to do it every day. Eat, drink and sleep. It can be said that the people under Akira Yagiyu's hands, except for these two, are all militants. Now, Shiki feels the pressure generated by those explosions, and the strong fighting spirit that naturally arises. Virgo can understand Shiki's mood at this time, but he knows that the physical quality of those ninjas is not comparable to the big pirate in front of the four emperors. If Shiki slashes with a sword wave, I am afraid that countless ninjas will be killed in an instant. Are those two guys all right? Looking at the two figures in the sky, the ninja below almost stared out his eyes. If the terrifying explosion just now was in the center of their ship, it can be said that none of the people present would survive. Virgo and Shiki, who had experienced a series of explosions, seemed to be blocked by some kind of ability at this time, which made the people below feel uneasy. How is that possible? Even at the edge of the explosion, the power of the light shock is enough to surpass the vast majority of ill-level ninjutsu. The bodies of these two guys are stone, right? Are they made of steel? Onogi's eyes widened as he looked at the two of them and said incredulously. Although he didn't want to admit it, the power of the Kingdom of Wind's city-breaking weapon really shocked him a lot, and even the power of the tailed beast bomb couldn't compare to the explosion of this city-breaking weapon. Advertisement. Now, the result has made him a little unacceptable. If even an attack of this scale could not kill the opponent, then they couldn't imagine how Akira Yagiyu's powerful men appeared. It's that thing called armament hockey that can withstand such a strong impact. Luo Sha looked at the silhouettes of the two people in the sky, and her expressions were constantly changing, and she was also muttering incessantly. Akira Yagiyu's forces have occupied more than half of the world, and all large and small countries have surrendered to the notice of Akira Yagiyu's army. Although the ninjas in the ninja world are forced to stay in the corner by Akira Yagiyu, they are not fools. For such a long time, they have also learned some of the abilities of the strong men under Akira Yagiyu. Among them, observation hockey and armament hockey. This is what they have already learned. Although it is not very clear, it is not a complete master, but it is not a problem to know some great abilities. Others they can determine. Observation hockey is some kind of 767 reconnaissance ability, and armament hockey, like chakra gathers and attaches, can enhance attack power and defense ability. Another point is that the ninjas can be 100% sure that the army of Akira Yagiyu is much stronger than the ninjas. Although the ninjas are also earth-shattering in battle, they rely on chakra to a large extent for support. Once chakra is exhausted, they are ordinary people with slightly stronger physical fitness and fighting awareness. However, the powerhouses under Akira Yagiyu's hands are different. They do not rely on chakra to support the battle, but rely entirely on their own physical strength, as well as their powerful physical combat skills. An army of tens of thousands can kill a Jonin, but not necessarily a vice admiral. What's more, Akira Yagiyu's subordinates are also integrated with the origin of chakra. If the pace is not too fast, Akira Yagiyu really wants to equip everyone with a pair of Rinnegan or Tensigan and then ravage the only remaining troops in the ninja world. Chapter 347 Lion Majesty Royal Sea Scroll. I'm going to use the city-breaking weapon again. I don't believe he can resist a wave. Luo Sha looked at the figure in the sky with a gloomy expression, and finally took a deep breath and said sternly. In order to deal with Akira Yagiyu's army, he has made great efforts, and now, naturally, it is not allowed to cause his efforts to be wasted because of Akira Yagiyu's subordinates. Also, how much did this guy prepare? Hearing Luo Sha's words, Oyumu's eyes narrowed behind him, and he secretly said in his heart. From the battle between Luo Sha's ninja force under the Wind Kingdom and the two people under Akira Yagiyu's hands, he knew that the city-breaking weapons of the Wind Kingdom were just one-time consumables, just like their Asian ninja force. And the formidable power of that broken city-level weapon is very strong, far exceeding their sub-ninja troops, so he guessed that the production method must be extremely difficult. Even the country of Wind should not have much, but now Luo Sha is not hesitating to use the broken city again. Rank weapons to attack really startled him. This also made him doubt whether his guess was accurate. If the Land of Winds has a large number of city-breaking weapons, then after Akira Yagiyu is dealt with, I am afraid that the remaining city-breaking weapons will be thrown to them as soon as possible. Thinking that the aftermath of the explosion was enough to overturn the 100-meter-long warship, Anomu felt a little uneasy in his heart. As Luo Sha's order came out, the ninjas took out the scrolls around their waists again. Under the strange eyes of those ninjas in the land of the land, the scroll was thrown into the launcher. But this time Shiki didn't give them another chance. Although he successfully blocked the explosion of those city-breaking weapons just now, he knew very well that it was because he was on the edge of the explosion. If he was in the center, he was not sure whether he could survive the series of explosions. Down. Lion Majesty Gosho Kaiju, female. With a loud shout from the Golden Lion, 2 sword waves were swept away, and at the same time, the ability of lion fruit was brought out. Advertisement, buzz. The next moment, the seawater that had been surging all the time was quickly gathered, and in an instant, 4 huge blue lion heads formed entirely of seawater. 4 huge subheads, each of which seems to have a diameter of a kilometer, and the 100-meter-long ships of the Kingdom of the Wind below are like a lion and an egg compared to the 4 huge blue lion heads. Compare the same. What? Looking at the 4 huge lion heads, everyone was shocked, and the ninjas of the Land of Winds who were preparing to use the domain-breaking weapons were even more shocked and stopped chakra injection. At this time, they were less than 2 kilometers away from the 4 giant lion heads. Once they continued to release the city-breaking weapons, let's not say whether the damage would threaten Shiki, and everyone else would be drowned by the explosion. Release the signal and let everyone back. Luo Sha's heart sank, and she hurriedly shouted loudly. At the same time, the ninja beside Luo Sha hurriedly took out a scroll from his waist. After the ninja injected chakra into the scroll, he directly threw the scroll into the air. The sound of screaming like a mouse was released from it, and then, a blue-white light exploded from the sky in an instant. Those ninjas from the Land of Winds saw the signal and knew that it was a signal to retreat, so they no longer hesitated and quickly retreated to the rear. Want to run? Shiki watched those ninjas retreat, but sneered, the corners of his mouth full of coldness. Roar. The 4 huge lion heads seemed to be really 4 lions, and the sound of seawater flowing from their mouths was like a lion's roar. Advertisement next moment. Under the control of the world, the lion head dived directly towards those ninjas and the fleet of the Kingdom of the Wind in front of them. Defense. Luo Sha's expression froze, and he hurriedly shouted again. He now has some regrets about fighting here. According to the information they got, Akira Yagiyu's army should be very afraid of seawater, but they did not expect that the other party would be able to use seawater to attack them, which made Luo Sha a little annoyed. Method. Or is there something wrong with the intelligence they collected? But no matter what, Luo Sha, who originally thought of relying on the sea to suppress Akira Yagiyu's army, never imagined that not only did he fail to suppress Akira Yagiyu's army, even the magnet-style gold ninjutsu that he is proud of can be released. The geographical advantage they originally wanted to suppress the enemy turned into their short, Jiao Jiaos, board in an instant. But fortunately, most people in the country of wind are the obstacles to using wind style. Following Luo Sha's order, the ninjas quickly formed seals, and wind walls rose from the sea, as if invisible walls appeared. Boom! 4 lion heads crashed into the ninja fleet ahead. One of them jumped directly, crushed the wind wall that had not yet been formed, and smashed the 2 ships in front of it into small pieces, and the ninja on the ship was instantly torn apart by the powerful pressure. Fortunately, the remaining 3 stones were blocked by the wind wall, and the ninjas also began to quickly form seals to prepare to counterattack, and the ninjas who had just withdrawn with the weapons of the breaking field were also preparing to attack. Chapter 348 Surrounded by Ninjutsu. The 3 giant lion heads with a diameter of 1 kilometer were blocked, and the ninjas behind them all heaved a sigh of relief. Then the ninjas looked to the side. It was found that at the edge, those companions who failed to stop the lion's head culling had disappeared without a trace at this time. The sea water in the distance kept surging, but they couldn't catch the figure of the sea chunin. Go to the rescue. Looking at the surging seawater in the distance, the captains of some ninja squads immediately let out a low voice. In this case, if there is no external assistance, then those ninjas who were driven into the sea with their broken ships, relying on their own strength, in this dangerous sea wave, it is impossible to complete self-rescue. Some marginal ships wanted to turn their bows to rescue their comrades who were caught in the sea. But Shiki wasn't going to give them a chance at all. I saw Shiki walking directly in the air and rushed over in an instant. The Fengjun 770 released by the ninjas just now dissipated along with the lion head because of the culling of the lion head just now. And Shiki rushed over without any difficulty. As soon as Shiki rushed over, he swung his blade directly, and the huge sword wave instantly cut a battleship in front of him diagonally in half. The ninjas above jumped up quickly one by one, trying to rush to the nearby ships. After all, the undercurrent is surging under the sea, and once it falls into the sea, I am afraid that it will be immediately involved. Even if it hits a friendly ship, it will be directly hit and the whole body will fall apart. However, those ninjas just jumped into the air, and the huge sword wave swept across again. The battleship ahead of the ninjas was cut to both ends again. Advertisement at this time, Shinobu was only developing the chakra props. For ships traveling on the sea, except for the land of water, other countries seldom studied. Even the ships used by the Kingdom of the Wind at this time are only made of a large number of wood, AFBD, heads combined with a small amount of metal. Although they wanted to make a metal ship like Akira Yagiyu's marine. However, as the country of the wind is a country of deserts, its shipbuilding skills cannot be compared with that of the country of water, and even the country of water cannot manufacture metal warships, let alone the country of wind. Now the land of water and the surrounding island countries have been completely controlled by Akira Yagiyu. It can be said that more than 90% of the sea craftsmen are working for him Akira Yagiyu, which completely blocked the possibility of the 2 countries competing with Akira Yagiyu for maritime hegemony. Luo Sha and Onogi are also very clear about this. Compared with Akira Yagiyu's superiority in naval battles, he hopes to suppress Akira Yagiyu in land battles and force Akira Yagiyu's minions out of the country of fire. After all, the most abundant and rich resource, or the country of fire. Therefore, in the face of the Golden Lion's sword wave slashing, the ships of the Land of Wind were easily cut open like tofu under that sword wave, and even because the sword wave ripped through the air, it made the where the sword wave slashed, the gaps in the ship were also torn apart. In the blink of an eye, 2 ships were destroyed, and Shiki set his sights on the next ship. Oops, deal with the enemy first. Under such circumstances, where are the ninjas still in the mood to rescue their drowning companions? Damn, these guys are so fast. With a secret curse, Luo Sha couldn't sit still. He is very aware of the melee strength of the people under Akira Yagayu's hands. If the golden-haired guy really kills him in his fleet, it won't take long for their people to be swept away. Seeing the Golden Lion's performance so strong, Onogi frowned. He originally just wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight, but now, it is obviously impossible for him to stay out of the situation, and even if he is reluctant, he must take action. Iwagakure, fully assist the country of the wind. With a low voice, Onogi passed the order. Hear Onogi's order. The rock shinobi who were planning to watch it all began to seal the seal one by one. Advertisement: the ninjas of the Land of Winds prepare wind style and water style, and the ninjas of Iwagakure naturally use the earth style they're good at, and there are also some ninjas who have the limit of blood. This is not only the warships of the Land of Winds. With the seal of the ninja of the Land of the Wind. At the same time, a warship with the flag of the Land approached from behind. The above is also impressively thousands of ninjas from the Land of the Land. For a time, a trail of mud flowed out of the ship, and soon wrapped the exterior of the ship. While strengthening the ship, it also increased the weight of the ship, making the ship swaying in the waves more stable. The ninja above, on this slightly more stable ship, can also feel more at ease. Soon, the ninja seals are completed. Water style water dragon bomb technique. Water style big waterfall technique, wind style wind go. Swamp escape heaven falls to kill swamp. A huge waterfall hung upside down from midair, and water dragons quickly sprang from it, and the water dragons rushed towards Shiki as soon as they appeared. In the water dragon group, there are also huge wind blades swimming among them, as if to take advantage of the surging water to cause a fatal blow to Shiki. Not only that, on top of Shiki's head, there appeared a dark black hole-like existence, and the filthy, stinking mud flowed down towards Shiki. For a time, Shiki was surrounded by ninjutsu. Chapter 349, auto-generated chapter title. The 349th chapters of the Strange Marsh pass the blood and follow the boundaries. Thousands of ninjutsu, dense like raindrops. Looking at the intensive ninjutsu and Shiki surrounded by ninjutsu, the eyes of the ninjas below glowed with excitement. The ninjas of the Land of Wind and Land seemed to have seen the moment when Shiki was crushed by ninjutsu. This guy, can he stop him? Looking at Shiki's figure, Virgo frowned slightly and murmured in his mouth. He has never seen Shiki's means of fighting his life. In so many battles, he feels that Shiki is playing a cat and mouse, and now, the ninjutsu released by those ninjas makes him feel the pressure. At the same time, he is also looking forward to Shiki's true strength. Shiki, who is a party, doesn't seem to have changed much on the surface. In fact, Shiki's heart was a little more solemn. Although he is arrogant, he is not a fool. With such intensive ninjutsu, even he does not want to use his body to resist. Lion. Thousand Slice Valley. With a low drink, Shiki's figure swayed instantly. It flickers and flickers like a ghost, and a pair of blades is constantly dancing. Gah! Hey! Gah! One after another sword waves flew out from the blade, turning into golden rays of light, and quickly rushed towards the surrounding ninjutsu. As a 4 Emperors class, Shiki's swordsmanship is definitely one of the best. Advertisement: the sword wave rushed into those ninjutsu, the wind blade was directly torn by the slash wave, the waterfall was cut open, and the water dragon was even smashed into pieces. The ninjas below only felt the golden light flashing continuously in front of them. Immediately afterwards, they saw that the ninjutsu they released was all scattered by the huge sword wave in the middle. This guy, the sword energy released can be comparable to A-level ninjutsu, and it can be released at such a high frequency. The sword wave released by Shiki startled the ninjas, and some people couldn't help but shouted in surprise. Although they are enemies, they also have to admit Shiki's. After all, Shiki is also one of the best pirates in the world of pirates. In this world of ninjas, not to mention other things, the kendo perception alone is unparalleled. However, although Shiki dispelled the wind style and water style around him, he forgot that there was still the ninjutsu released by the ninja on the top of his head. Swamp Tongshueji Boundary Ninja was recruited by Luo Sha from the Land of Swamps. Now that the enemy is at stake, the ninja world is at stake. As a ninja, he naturally has no hesitation in recruiting Luo Sha. At this time, in addition to the ninjas under Akira Yagayu and the ninjas in the Land of the Land, 90% of the ninjas still alive in the entire ninja world were brought into the Land of Winds by Luo Sha. This is the capital that Luo Sha dared to challenge Akira Yagayu. He knew very well that as long as there were a large number of ninjas, the ninja world would definitely belong to him. After all, the ninja is the root of the ninja world. Sage of Six Paths created the ninja sect and set out the ninja world for the future ninjas. So Luo Sha is not even worried about Onogi, who has the support of the Sage of Six Paths brothers at this time. He knew that once Akira Yagyu was repelled and suppressed, the Sage of Six Paths would immediately withdraw their support for the land of the earth in favor of a unified ninja world. The people who have the ability to pass the blood and follow the boundary of swamp have been in the country of swamp since ancient times, but the number is rare, and sometimes there are faults, so the country of swamp has not been able to rely on the ability of swamp to grow. In the sky, the rotten sludge fell with a strong stench. Shiki didn't see the mud, but he could smell the smell. Shiki looked up and found that the mud was less than a few meters away from his head, and then he realized that this thing was actually silent. Advertisement 0. For flowers, it's okay if you don't find it, but now that you see it, Shiki naturally won't let this dirty and stinky thing fall on him. But just after moving, Shiki found that his movements actually became a little sluggish. That smell just now was a fragrance. Shiki was stunned, but the next moment he reacted. Also a little surprised. You must know that his strength is very strong, and ordinary toxins have no effect on him. But the smell just now, he just smelled it, and it was actually affected, which made him feel a little horrified. Meanwhile, for those ninjas, Shiki finally started to take them seriously. Discovered, is it? The Swamp Passer is not the ability to be the main battle, his biggest role is to play an auxiliary and seal role in the battle. Zutong will first attack the enemy's body with the smell of toxins, blocking the enemy's meridians, causing the enemy's limbs to become sluggish, and the ninja can't even release ninjutsu. After that, the mud will adhere to the enemy, gradually solidify, and finally seal it up completely. Seeing Shiki's reaction, Luo Sha immediately sneered and spoke in a leisurely manner. Onogi next to him knew that this guy was talking to himself. But here, although Shiki was affected, he was not completely paralyzed. He glanced coldly at the marsh ninja in the distance, and his figure instantly rushed out of the range of the marsh tunnel. The speed was even faster than the reactions of the surrounding ninjas. Not good. Seeing Shiki's actions, Luo Sha's expression changed suddenly, and the surrounding ninjas also exclaimed. Everyone rushed up quickly, trying to block Shiki, but it was too late. Factory. Chapter 350 Oyemu shot. Shiki quickly appeared in front of the ninja Nama Tongshueji at a very fast speed. You. The ninja of the swamp Tongshueji boundary obviously did not expect that he would be discovered by the other party so quickly, and even the other party had already come to him. The ninja was a little unbelievable. Shiki looked at the masked ninja in front of him, without saying a word of nonsense. He directly clenched the blade in his hand and waved his arm towards him. With a flash of cold light, the ninja was immediately decapitated. It's just that the ninja's eyes were a little more confused at this time, because he saw a familiar headless figure in front of him. Damn, this guy, 773's physical quality is too strong, and the toxins of Marsh Tong didn't have time to spread in his body. Luo Sha watched Shiki beheading the marshmallow ninja with a wave of his hand. His face suddenly became extremely ugly, and he couldn't help frowning and said in a deep voice. He knew that the people under Akira Yagyu's hands were very strong, and they had already shown some performance just now, but he never expected that the other party could suppress even toxins. After Shiki killed the marsh escape ninja, he quickly rushed to the other ninjas. He is a vengeful master, these guys just besiege him, and now of course he will not be polite to these ninjas. Shiki's speed is extremely fast, and every time it flickers, a long arc of sword is brought out, directly killing several ninjas in front of him on the spot. At this moment, Luo Sha gritted her teeth, blood dripping frantically in her heart. These are the reliances for him to rebuild the ninja world in the future. If there are too many casualties, it is difficult to guarantee who Sage of Six Paths will tend to in the future. Third Tsuchikage, this guy is a capable man under Akira Yagyu's hands, maybe only Chen Shi can kill him. Advertisement. Taking a deep breath, Luo Sha is very clear about the current situation. Although he has a city-breaking weapon, the opponent has already rushed into their ninja army. Once he uses a breaking level weapon, let's not say whether he can kill it or not. On the other side, their people are afraid that they will suffer heavy casualties first. And his own magnetic flux is obviously not useful here, although he is very reluctant, but in this case, he can only ask the third Tsuchikage Onogi next to him. No problem, but my Chentong needs preparation time, you must help me contain him first. Oyegi did not refuse. After nodding, he said calmly. He knew that at such a time, Akira Yagyu had not been resolved, and the two countries had not yet reached the time of enmity, so he did not hesitate at all about Luo Sha's request. Preparation time. Hearing Oyegi's words, Luo Sha's eyes twitched. He didn't believe Onoji's words at all, and it was the first time he heard that third Tsuchikage needed preparation time to release the dust cover. Looking at Luo Sha's posture, Oyemu pouted, and he also guessed that Luo Sha didn't believe him at all. In fact, just as Luo Sha thought, he was indeed fooling Luo Sha. After all, he would not refuse if he needed his help, but he also had to let Luo Sha reveal some trump cards. At least he will do his best after he is sure that Luo Sha is really helpless. The reason why he chose to attack Li Shengming with the army of the Kingdom of Wind was nothing more than that. Everything he did was to determine the strength of Akira Yagyu's army, but also to determine the current strength of Luosha and the country of the wind. Since the establishment of the 5 major countries, there have been constant disputes, and there has always been no permanent enemy, only permanent interests. They could unite against Akira Yagyu, but each of them knew very well that after the suppression of Akira Yagyu, it was time for them to kill each other. My Chentong will definitely be able to deal with him, but if the first attack can't kill him, I'm afraid if I want to attack him again, it will be troublesome. Advertisement of course, Oyegi would not admit that he was planning to take the opportunity to test the enemy attack of the Land of Wind, but he just explained to Luo Sha with a serious face. Hearing this, Luo Sha's face softened a lot. Although he still doesn't believe Oyegi's words, he can only do so at this time. Okay, let me cooperate with you. Taking a deep breath, Luo Sha said to Oyemu. Then the body jumped up and stood directly on the mast of the battleship, and at the same time, the hands quickly formed a seal. Wind-style big windmill. Luo Sha stood on the mast, his hands flashed continuously, bringing up continuous afterimages, and finally took a deep breath and shouted out from his mouth towards the front. In an instant, a strong wind gushes out from Luo Sha's mouth, and a whirlwind in the middle of the post city seems to have transformed into a huge wind dragon with a diameter of more than 10 meters, rushing towards Shiki. Humph! Facing the hurricane that was several times larger than the average wind style, Shiki snorted coldly, turned his wrist, and instantly cut out a 1.3-meter long slash wave. The golden slash wave collided with the silver-white wind dragon, but went straight through it strangely. After that, the wind dragon roared directly from top to bottom, and put Shiki into his mouth in one bite. Immediately afterwards, the wind dragon dissipated, and Shiki was replaced by a wind column, and Shiki was bound in it, unable to rush out. HMPH, the big windmill is not an ordinary wind style, he can directly avoid all impacts according to the airflow. Luo Sha watched Shiki trapped, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth, and said something casually, explaining to Onogi why Shiki's slash wave just didn't disperse the wind dragon. Chapter 351 Chentong vs Shiki. Hearing Luo Sha's explanation, Oyemu withdrew his gaze and began to mobilize chakra. He originally wanted Luo Sha to use the trump card recently researched by the Land of Electric Wind. Now, he obviously underestimated Luo Sha, but now that he saw Luo Sha's method, he also remembered this move in his heart. He knew that Luo Sha had only talked to him roughly, but it was not very comprehensive. But he could guess it himself. The wind dragon was able to ignore the impact of the sword wave just now, and I am afraid that it can also be the same as other impacts. That is to say, unless the target is completely closed, Luo Sha's ninjutsu will definitely hit the target. After that, Onogi turned his gaze forward again and landed on Shiki. The ninjutsu deliberately prepared by 05-year-old Sand is not just to trap Shiki. In the hurricane, silver-white streamers flashed continuously. Anomu looked at the streamer, his eyes jumped, and he saw what the streamer was. Where is the streamer? It is clearly the airflow generated by the wind blade in the hurricane tearing the air. Those winds are like sharp knives, constantly cutting Shiki's body. However, Shiki's reaction was also timely. The moment he was trapped by the wind dragon, he covered his entire body with a layer of armament haki. Armament haki is not only attached to Shiki's skin surface, even Shiki's robe is also covered. At this time, Shiki was black and had a metallic luster. Shiki uses armament haki, and the wind blade on the hurricane is like a tickling for Shiki. These things, called armament haki by the people of Akira Yagyu, actually make the body as hard as steel. Advertisement looking at Shiki who was unharmed in the hurricane, Luo Sha murmured. Then, Luo Sha swept his gaze to Oyemu again. Wait, it's up to you, and you will kill the opponent with one blow. Luo Sha said towards Onogi. His wind blades can't all cause damage to Shiki, and now he can only rely on Onogi's dust. After all, Chentong's original boundary stripping technique is able to separate matter into atoms. In a sense, it is an attack that directly decomposes the opponent. Onogi was also watching Shiki's movements at all times, watching Shiki ignore the attack in the hurricane. The corners of his eyes twitched, and then he nodded. But then, Onogi said another sentence, he's going to run away. Oyemu calmly reminded Luo Sha. Hearing Oyegi's reminder, Luo Sha's heart tightened and she hurriedly looked in Shiki's direction. At this time, he was calmly looking at Luo Sha's direction. His eyes had killing intent, looking at Luo Sha like he was looking at a dead person. Staring at Shiki's murderous eyes, Luo Sha was also a little nervous. However, thinking that there were so many ninjas around him looking at him, Luo Sha's expression sank again. Ding! With a cold snort, Luo Sha stepped forward and dived directly towards Shiki. At the same time, Luo Sha's hands were not idle either. His hands quickly formed seals, and the ninjas below were dazzled. After all, it is the wind shadow of Sand Shinobi Village, the land of wind, and the speed of the knot is not comparable to that of ordinary ninjas. Even the ninjas of the Konoha Uchiha clan who survived by chance can only use Sharingan to keep up with the speed of the seal on Luosha's hand. Advertisement. Fortunately, that third case cage disappeared. Otherwise third case cage and this guy, the country of wind, might really overwhelm the country of our land. Onogi looked at Luo Sha's back, and the brilliance in his eyes flickered constantly. Although the conditions in the Kingdom of Wind are dangerous, he also has to admit that there are indeed many strong men in this generation of the Kingdom of Wind. Especially in the Land of Wind, and first case cage's wife, Chiyo, is still alive. That is the famous ninja at the time. Not only the puppet art is a must in the whole ninja world, but also its poisoning ability once caused headaches to all countries. Although it is said that Chiyo has been announced to be hidden from the world, everyone knows that if Sanagakure is in danger, she will definitely be born immediately. It can be said that the Land of Wind is not very conspicuous on the surface, but in fact, the actual power of the Land of Wind is far stronger than that of the Land of Soil. It was only at this time that Onogi understood that although they had the support of Sage of Six Paths, the Kingdom of Wind had been improving all the time, and had the power to not be afraid of them at all. At this time, Luo Sha was already rushing towards Shiki, and he didn't know what Onogi was thinking now. Now he just wants to trap Luo Sha, and then let Oyemu take action as soon as possible. Wind-style peacock feather. Before he could tighten his grip on Shiki, Luo Sha was ready for ninjutsu and gave a low voice. I saw Luo Sha crossed, and the tiger's mouth of both hands formed a ring. Immediately after, wind blades flew out from the palm of his hand and quickly shot towards Shiki in front of him. Shiki's expression remained unmoved, holding the blade in both hands and dancing in front of him. And those flying wind blades met Shiki's blade, like snow falling on a red-hot iron, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. At this time, Onogi has also rushed up. I saw Onogi appearing on the side of the two. Dust Escape Original Realm Peeling Technique, Chapter 352 Ignore the Defensive Dust Pass. Dusty is a blood-based elimination developed by Second Tsuchikage that combines the three attributes of wind, earth and fire with chakra. The biggest record in the original work is the upgraded version of the stripping technique used in the original world, which eliminated dozens of wood-style clones of Uchiha Madara and Susanoo in one fell swoop. You know, Susanoo can even be regarded as the ultimate defense of the ninja world. However, even such extreme defenses were unable to resist Shentong's attack. At this time, Onogi had already crossed his hands, and the tiger's mouth was formed into a square. The moment Onogi appeared, Shiki had a bad premonition in his heart. And Virgo obviously sensed the thoughts of these guys. Mr. Shiki, come back quickly. With Thunderfruit's powerful auxiliary bonus effect on observation haki, Virgo let him know what the other party was thinking, and immediately said loudly to Shiki. Hearing Virgo's reminder, Shiki naturally knew that the other party was definitely going to use some extraordinary means, and hurriedly used the power of lion fruit to prop up his body. But it was too late. After preparing for so long, Onogi is for this moment. With the release of Onogi's chakra, a translucent enchantment cube was instantly released from Onogi's tiger's mouth. Like a streamer, Shiki didn't have time to dodge. In an instant, the translucent barrier directly penetrated Shiki's lower body. I saw that Shiki's legs were directly illuminated by the cube enchantment. In that cube, Shiki's legs that were originally covered by armament haki disappeared instantly, as if they had never appeared. Only then did Shiki's body continue to be carried away by the power of lion fruit. Shiki didn't stop until he ran out dozens of meters away. Advertisement and all of this happened in an instant. And Shiki, after stopping, found that the parts below the base of his legs had disappeared. Damn it, long. Shiki's face changed, and he scolded inwardly. While angry, Shiki was also a little scared. If he hadn't used the ripe fruit to take him away in time, I'm afraid he would have disappeared into the cube enchantment now. Is this what your highness said about Chen Shi? Even my armament haki can't stop it. Shiki couldn't help but murmured as he recalled the translucent crystal he had just seen. Akira Yagayu didn't tell them about Onogi's dust, but he didn't see it with his own eyes, and they couldn't understand the concept of direct decomposition into atoms. However, now they finally saw it. His Royal Highness said, "Don't underestimate the ninjas in the ninja world. Mr. Shiki, you should come back first." Seeing that Shiki was only half body now, Virgo couldn't help but say. Hearing Virgo's words, Shiki's heart was shocked, although he was a little unwilling, but seeing that the other party had formed a seal again, he knew that he could not resist the other party's next attack at all. After all, the opponent's attack is really too weird. Even if he has suffered a loss, he doesn't know how the opponent made his legs disappear. Gritting his teeth, Shiki clenched his weapon with both hands, turned his body with lion fruit's ability, and instantly cut out a ring of slash wave. The slash wave passed through the hurricane wind column around Shiki in an instant, and Shiki quickly followed the slash wave and rushed out. Want to run? Luo Sha saw that Shiki was not dead, and there was a burst of regret in his eyes, but when he saw that Shiki wanted to rush out of the wind column, he naturally would not be willing. After a low drink, Luo Sha quickly formed a seal. Advertisement, boom, at this moment, a thunder sounded. I saw a silver-white electric arc instantly fall from the top of Luo Sha's head, forcing him to quickly dodge, and at the same time stop the knot in his hand. Shiki successfully followed slash wave and rushed out of the wind column released by Luo Sha, and returned to the Shunjo motto all the way. As for Onogi, he also wanted to stop Shiki, but there was also a thunderbolt that stopped him. At this moment, Luo Sha and Oyemu raised their heads, and they realized that during the time when they were fighting, a thick dark cloud had already appeared above their heads. Oops. Luo Sha looked at the dark clouds and thought about the lightning that had just suddenly shot at him and Oyemu, and suddenly his heart sank, and he couldn't help but whisper. Obviously, the other party also has a strong man who can manipulate lightning. According to the information they got, Akira Yagayu has a strong man capable of manipulating lightning. But for a long time, they couldn't be sure who the strong man was. After all, everyone who had seen Virgo had died or was sent to the marine base, so just now, Luo Sha was not sure of Virgo's true identity, I only now know that the powerhouse who can manipulate thunder and lightning, Jiao Jiao Jiao, is the sunglasses that appeared with the blonde man. Male. Damn it, Akira Yagyu actually dispatched such two powerhouses at the same time. I really looked down on me. Luo Sha cursed inwardly, her face a little ugly. He didn't expect that Akira Yagyu would send the legendary man who manipulated thunder and lightning, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. The weaker the enemy, he didn't want his troops to suffer too many casualties. However, he couldn't bear to think too much. At this time, in the sky, a brighter lightning flashed out. Everyone looked up and found that a huge figure with a width of several thousand meters appeared in the air. Chapter 353 Thor, Spaceship. What's this? Looking at the lightning flashing ahead, the ninjas below couldn't help exclaiming. The huge thunder figure with a height of 10,000 feet, like the god of thunder, will destroy everything below in the thunder and lightning. The strong thunderous breath made all the ninjas below hold their breaths, and many people felt that their hearts were raised in their throats, and they might even jump out of their throats at any time. No wonder these ninjas were shocked. Ever since the ninjas of the Land of Winds used the soaring ocean current, Virgo had already begun to manipulate the Shunjo motto to create thunderclouds. Almost everyone's attention was drawn to Shiki, and no one noticed Virgo, who was making thunderclouds in peace at the rear. Even if it weren't for Virgo's shot, I'm afraid people would have forgotten that Shiki has a companion. Now the huge thunder and lightning figure summoned by Virgo is thousands of meters high and more than 3 kilometers wide, just like a huge supergiant sea kings. And the largest ships in the Land of Winds are only about 200 meters, compared to the state of Virgo Thor, which has a length and width of 777 kilometers. Part-time jobs are like small paper boats. You are actually preparing such a big body. Looking at the huge thunder in front, Shiki was also shocked, then glanced at the horrified ninjas below, and immediately said with a grin. Although his legs have just been broken down by Onogi's dust, Shiki doesn't seem to be particularly concerned. With the ability of lion fruit, he doesn't particularly need legs. Besides, Akira Yagyu has a talented surgeon, a genius Orochimaru, and a lot of wood-style cells, and he can get a new pair of limbs as long as he needs it. On the contrary, seeing Virgo's action to make those arrogant ninjas show such an expression now makes Shiki seem like he has become Virgo, and there is a lot of ridicule in the eyes of those ninjas. Virgo didn't speak, just looked at the ninjas below with a calm expression. Advertisement, damn, this guy can be so strong. At this time, Luo Sha can be said to be shocked and angry, and said with an ugly face. He didn't expect Virgo to hide such a powerful power. At this time, the huge thunder figure displayed by Virgo was really shocking. Even Luo Sha couldn't help but feel a little scalp numb. Virgo's Thor state is different from ninjutsu. The thunder of ninjutsu will dissipate after it is released, and it is difficult to exist in the outside world for a long time. Moreover, the range and power of ninjutsu are generally rare and can reach kilometers. Even Onogi next to him couldn't help but sigh. Ninjutsu in the Land of Earth can summon and manipulate the thing. But even the largest stone man he summoned was only a few dozen meters away. Compared to Virgo's Thor state at this time, Onogi couldn't even imagine how miserable he would lose if the two collided. Lord Fengying, what should we do? Seeing this, those ninjas were even more confused, and the commanding ninja even came to Luo Sha for instructions. Hearing the question from the genin at the bottom of his hand, Luo Sha himself was in trouble. The best ninjutsu to deal with lightning style is earth style, but this, AFBD, is at sea, and earth style is difficult to play as it should. This time, Luo Sha had even more headaches. He only remembered calculating the weaknesses of Akira Yagyu's subordinates, but he forgot that his own naval combat skills were not as good as Akira Yagyu's. Advertisement at the same time, he also sounded that Akira Yagyu's army had called itself Marine. Subconsciously, Luo Sha's eyes turned to the back of Virgo and the others, and then the corners of his eyes twitched. I saw that there was still a fleet floating in the air in the distance, like a bystander, waiting for the battle between the two sides to end, and then come in to clean up the battlefield. What are these guys doing? Even steel warships can fly into the sky. Looking at the fleets flying in the air, Onogi's voice sounded. At this time, some of them couldn't believe their eyes. They had the kingdom of the sky at hand, and with the support of various top ninjutsu and yin and yang escapes, they were able to develop a single soldier chakra thruster in front of them. However, Akira Yagyu's people even researched the warships flying in the air, which made him feel a little unbelievable. However, in fact, although Akira Yagyu's scientific research team has developed a spaceship, when the blind mouse stopped the undead army, they drove the spaceship there. But the number of spaceships is not many, even a handful. Moreover, those spaceships thought that they were floating by means of chakra converters, thrusters, and the light and heavy rock technique simulated by the ninjutsu simulator, which was far inferior to the sea in actual combat. So these spaceships are only temporarily used for blocking battles and sending reinforcements. But even so, it was enough for these ninjas to be horrified. Because it can be seen from here that after Akira Yagyu combined the two world scientific research units, Marine's scientific research level has already surpassed these ninjas. This also made Luo Sha and Oyumu's heart even more full of crisis. But the top priority, both of them understood that they had to overcome the crisis brought about by the huge thunder figure in front of them before they could think about other things. Chapter 354 Ignore the dust attack. Luo Sha took a deep breath and once again set his eyes on Oyegi. Of all the people present, in terms of attack power, I am afraid no one can compare to Onoji's dust pass. Even he can't guarantee that his magnet-style gold dust can withstand the dust of the old man. This dust in the land is an existence that makes the entire ninja world excited. After all, it decomposes objects directly from the atomic level. In the entire ninja world, there are probably not many that can resist the erosion of dust. Noticing that Luo Sha was looking at him, Oyegi also knew that this guy was going to let him shoot again. Glancing at the big guy with several thousand meters in the sky, Onogi was also beating drums in his heart. After all, Virgo's Thor state is really too big, so he must determine the opponent's position before he can do it. In the eyes of the ninjas below, Virgo's move seems to put a huge disguise on himself. There must be Virgo's body in a certain part of the huge Thor phantom, so as long as they attack Virgo's body, then everything went away. In fact, even Luosha did not know that under Akira Yagayu's hands, there were still a group of elemental fruits. The ninja world also has ninjutsu similar to the elemental fruit ability. One of them is the liquefaction technique of the Kirigakure ghost lamp family. It's just that liquefaction technique also has a weakness, that is, lightning. So Luo Sha and the others are absolutely unwilling to believe that the people under Akira Yagayu can really ignore all the damage. Let's do it, except for your dust pass, I'm afraid our attacks can hardly hurt each other. Seeing Oyumu's hesitation, Luo Sha couldn't help but urge. He also wanted to do it himself, but his wind style had no effect on the thunder, not to mention other earth styles and water styles. Advertisement: everyone knows who can conduct electricity. Attacking the opponent's lightning style with water is really courting death. Hearing what Luo Sha said, Oyemu also knew that he could only rely on himself. You must know that he came to inquire about the current strength of the Kingdom of Wind. As a result, he did not see the strength of the Kingdom of Wind, but he himself was constantly working for Luo Sha. If it weren't for the need to join forces with the Wind Nation to suppress Akira Yagayu, he wouldn't be too lazy to manage the Wind Nation's life and death. Anomu had an idea in his heart, but it was impossible to say it. You help me. Oyemu left his words and used the light and heavy rock technique directly to rise into the air. Luo Sha naturally did not hesitate, and directly led the ninjas to use wind-style ninjutsu for Onogi to sweep the formation. Although it is difficult for wind-style to cause damage to the opponent, it can contain the opponent. Under Luo Sha's command, hurricanes formed on the sea, and then quickly charged towards Virgo's Thor Phantom. The hurricane, which was like a giant pillar in the past, was as small as a stick in front of Virgo. As a thunder fruit-capable person, Virgo is a phantom of the god of thunder formed by directly merging with the thunder in the sky. Those thunder and lightning are part of his body. Therefore, seeing those hurricanes, Virgo showed a contemptuous smile on his face. Then I saw Virgo stretched out his huge palm and photographed those hurricanes directly. The big hand condensed by the thunder in the sky seems to be in essence, and it covers it directly. In an instant, the hurricane that had just formed was directly scattered, turning into a small prestige and quickly disappearing. At this time, Onogi had already detoured behind Virgo. Advertisement: seeing that the huge thunder and lightning phantom in his gestures directly smashed the hurricane released by the hundreds of ninjas below, the corner of Oyumu's eyes couldn't help but twitch. 0. Ask for flowers, but soon he recovered. Looking at the huge head formed by lightning in front of him, Onogi took a deep breath. He could feel the power mixed with the thunder and lightning in front of him, the effect of the scenic spot caused by the surge of thunder and lightning, and even the hair on Oyumu's whole body had been blasted, or cast like a hedgehog. But Onogi didn't care about that at all at this time. I saw Oyumu's figure moved and charged directly towards Virgo's head. At the same time, Onogi's hands were also clasped together. Dust pass original peeling technique. Onogi murmured in his heart, and his intertwined hands were quickly pulled away. I saw a translucent cube that seemed to be covered with a white tent quickly appeared in front of him. Then, as Onogi's palms were separated, the cube became larger and larger. Chentong, as the blood of the fusion of the three attributes of ninjutsu, was eliminated, and the consumption of chakra was also extremely terrifying. And as the range expanded, a layer of sweat appeared on Oyumu's forehead. Finally, when the volume of the cube exceeded 100 cubes, it was pushed into the head of the thunder and lightning condensation by Onogi. This is Onogi's intuition. In his inference, the other party must be hidden in the head or heart, and he can only try one by one. The cube was sent into the thunder, but Virgo's movements did not stop. After the carbon wiped out the hurricane, he waved and grabbed a ball of lightning and bombed the ship below. He knew that Onogi was attacking him, but he ignored it. As he guessed, Onogi's attack could not hurt him in the elemental state, so Virgo simply pretended not to find Onogi and let it be in vain that Kung Fu Factory. Chapter 355 I Am Thunderbolt. Virgo didn't release the lightning, and directly stirred the sea with the big hand that the lightning condensed. The ships of the Land of Wind were swept away by the huge palms, and they were completely powerless to resist, but any ships that came into contact with Virgona's thundering palm would be ignited in an instant, and the ninjas above were even more so. Even before it was too late to escape, he was directly pulled by lightning and burned into coke. Seeing that the ninjas below were constantly scorched by lightning, and there were even many ninjas from the land of the earth, Onogi's face suddenly changed. Damn. Feeling that his attack did not seem to have any effect on Virgo, Onobi cursed inwardly, and his body quickly fell. He didn't go straight to Virgo's back, but chose to flicker back and forth, as if he didn't want Virgo to notice that he was going to attack another vital point of his own. Virgo felt Onobi's movements and ignored it. Instead, he cooperated very well and let him come to his back center smoothly. After arriving at the back of Virgo's state of God of Thunder, Onobi still did not rush to act. Instead, he looked warily at the huge body in front of him. After all, it was too smooth for him to come here, and the smoothness made him a little unbelievable. He didn't believe that Virgo really didn't notice his movements at all. But from the beginning to the end, Virgo didn't stop him at all, and even Shiki in the distance just watched him coldly, without any intention of reminding him, which made Onobi really confused. Isn't the heart also his vital point? Suddenly, Oyemu seemed to have thought of something, and he couldn't help but secretly murmured in his heart. Then Onobi raised his head and glanced at Thor's body in front of him. He found that Virgo had withdrawn his palms, and the palms of his hands seemed to be gathering lightning, as if he was about to brew a big move. Advertisement for a time, the sea breeze on the sea became stronger, and the waves were like palms, constantly beating the ships that were lucky not to be destroyed by Virgo. The ninjas above smelled a tinge of danger from the salty sea breeze. Luo Shaw even raised his head, his eyes fixed on the thunder and lightning gathered in Virgo's palm. Damn, what is that guy Onobi still hesitating about? Luo Shaw cursed inwardly and said in a low voice with an ugly expression. If not at sea, he would have done it himself. Anomu also noticed that Virgo's palm had condensed into thunder dragons, and he couldn't help but get anxious. Dust boundary peeling technique. Onobi opened his palm again and secretly said in his heart. This time, instead of a cube enchantment like before, a pillar appeared directly in Onoji's palm, and he quickly shot towards Virgo's thunder god's body. As if it was a lamp post shot out by an extremely dazzling flashlight, it directly pierced into Virgo's lightning body. Then Anomu didn't hesitate, he turned around, and the transparent silver-white beam of light quickly swept across Virgo's body diagonally. Virgo's huge Thor body was slashed diagonally by the nakedness. But it's not over yet. Anomu wasn't sure where Virgo's vital point was, so Onobi didn't stop after the blow, but raised his wrist and swept the beam of light from another direction again. The third, the fourth, the fifth. It wasn't until Onobi swept all over Virgo's body that he stopped. Advertisement. The consumption of dust is huge, although the time used is very short, even about 2 breaths, but the continuous maintenance of dust. This set has also made Oyemu's body soaked with sweat, and his face is even paler like paper. It's time to die. Onobi took a deep breath, looked at the thunder and lightning in front of him, and said in a low voice. He doesn't think that his dust can even decompose the lightning, but he believes that he will be able to decompose the Virgo hidden in the lightning into countless particles. However, Onobi's voice just fell. Virgo turned to look at him. Is that all you have? Virgo looked at the small Onobi in front of him, and a thunder-like sound came from his mouth, which shocked Onobi's ears. However, Onobi didn't care about the physical discomfort at this time, but widened his eyes and looked at Virgo in front of him with a dull look. What? Are you okay? Looking at Virgo's figure, Onobi asked in disbelief. 1.3. His own dust pass did not kill the opponent, which made Virgo first think that the guy in front of him was a puppet. But the next moment he overturned this idea, because he had a feeling in his heart that this was definitely not a puppet. Such a big puppet, I am afraid no one has the power to drive, absolutely not. Of course I'm fine, because I am Thunderbolt, and your ninjutsu can't disperse Thunderbolt, so there's no way to hurt me. Virgo looked at Onobi in front of him, and said in a leisurely tone. The roaring sound spread all over the place, making the hearts of the ninjas below tremble, and could not help but feel hopeless.